The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTR TV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast.
The 44 gets loose off of corner number 4. It's going to be a photo finish to the line in the grass, but the 44 will hang on for the win. Here he comes with the crossover. Fellison to the inside. Is it going to be a Las Vegas photo finish? They touch. They wreck. Who's going to get it? Upside down. Who's going to get it?
Fellison gets it.
Ooh, by himself. Now he has a 72 of O'Connor. It's going to be a 2v2 race to the checkers. 2 up top, 2 to the bottom. It's going to be Ingram. It's going to be Rainville. Who's going to get it at the stripe? Photo finish. It's going to be Rainville. Is there enough? This is going to be a close finish. What is going to happen? Is there enough fuel to get him around 2 more corners? He didn't have enough. The final corner. There goes Zach Nichols. Sarah ran out with 3 corners to go, and Zach Nichols will win here at Mosport. And is he going to go for the last-ditch effort? Is he going to use the back bumper? What will Devin Sarah do? We head into corner number 3. He's going to sail it on in there. Does he get to the bumper? He turns him. He turns it for the win. He wrecks him. We saw how Ruddy, is that a word? Ruddy?
I don't know, just go with it.
All right, we'll go with it. We've seen how ruddy turn 3 is getting. And
so these guys, once again, doubled up, stacked up, and ready to go back green flag racing here behind the iRacing.com Facebook pace car.
Don't know where that came from, but we'll let it slide.
What was I thinking?
The banking is the steepest. The speeds are the fastest. The wrecks are the largest. 2 and 3 wide racing, inches apart at 200 miles an hour. Drivers love it or hate it. It's Talladega Super Speedway. One mistake from disaster for 188 laps. Who can survive and persevere? And who will be damaged, disappointed, and on a rollback? Well, we have 3.5 hours of action for the 100% Cup Series to give us all of the answers. PTR TV and the wide world of sports presents coverage of the 100% Cup Series on Fast Globe. It's the Intimidator 500 here at the Talladega Super Speedway. Giving you coverage tonight is myself, Corey Silva, and I got my buddy Tyler Orn in the booth for the 100% Cup Series. We're throwing it back here to the 90s on PTR TV. So, Tyler, we're at Talladega Super Speedway. You've been talking about this race for weeks, man, and here we are finally ready for the challenge of the racetrack.
Well, Corey, I got to tell you, I am super
where are you? I don't
psyched
see
for
you on
this
camera,
race.
my friend.
You don't see me on camera. I don't know what's going on there, but I've got it pulled up.
All right. See, it's we're back in the 90s. Technology doesn't work back in these days. But anyway, what's going on tonight?
Again, really excited for this race. You know, I've been looking forward to it all week. Normally, Darlington is the throwback race, but instead we decided Talladega, I think, is a classic venue. And listen, this is a 100% Cup Series league. My first ever race broadcasting it. We've already had a great Xfinity race today and ARCA race.
Hey, there you are.
The Real Cup race is tomorrow, but tonight's going to be great.
All right. So, you know, maybe the dial-up connections of the day. We got you on cam here today, Stub. So, again, it's the 100% Cup Series. We checked these guys out last week. We were at the Bristol Motor Speedway for dirt, which, you know, these guys really aren't used to, and they put on a whale of a finish. We had essentially a photo finish with the RJ Root getting the victory over John Delaney. So I know you really haven't got to see these guys too much, Larry Tyler. But based on what you've seen, do you have anything you're looking forward to or any storylines for us?
Yeah, I believe Delaney actually was the Daytona 500 winner earlier this year, and he's also our current points leader. So I would expect him to be one of the front runners in this race. But, Talladega, just like Daytona and any other pack-style track, is always unpredictable. You've got to look out for the big one. It's inevitable there's going to be a wreck. We had, I believe, 5 natural cautions that occurred in the Daytona race earlier this season. And I would expect probably the first half is going to be relatively calm, but as the race progresses, we get to the second half, the intensity is going to pick up. Something else I look out for, too, is green flag pit stops. That is strategy is paramount for these races, and if these drivers have to get on the pit road, they need some partners. Drafting is also very important, so a lot of different storylines throughout this race I'm looking forward to, and most importantly, though, you got to keep it clean.
Yeah, you do have to keep it clean. It is going to be a battle of survival at Talladega Superspeedway. 188 laps. Now, there's a couple different ways that this race could go, if I'm being honest. We do have what could be 2 and 3 wide racing the whole time. We do have stages. I mean, that's not something that we had back in the 90s, back in the good old NASCAR Winston Cup days, but that's what we have here tonight. We have stages set lap 60, lap 120. We know how pivotal and important the points are. So those usually do get those guys riled up for those stage finishes. But with this new drafting package with the next-gen cars, Tyler, we have situations where we've seen guys, run the junior line, run the Harry Gant line if we're being throwback, right against the fence, and a conga line. So it's really hard to say what the guys are going to choose to do tonight.
It is hard to say, and so many, like I say, so many different strategies these guys have. Some may be looking for stage points. Some may just want to put themselves in the best position to win the race. You don't know what each particular driver and team strategy is. And also, I would say, too, that, your teammates are very important in a race like this as well, because you want to try and pit with your teammates, or at least pit with people that you are aligned with. But again, as we saw in Daytona at the end of stage 2, coming to the green and white checkered flag, there was a big wreck, took out some of the front runners, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happens again today.
Yeah, very well could be the case. So we'll have to see what does happen. We got about a minute left in the warm-up session, because we do have to remember that in this series there is pre-qualifying that's already done, ahead of time, as you'd expect pre-qualifying to happen. So the grid is already going to be determined, so we'll give that to you in just a minute. So again, like and subscribe, everybody. It's Retro Night on PTR TV, so we're having some fun with it. Probably about half, maybe 20 so laps into it, we'll kind of flip-flop back to 2022 and make things a little bit more graphically aesthetic for you, but we're going to have fun with it for the time being. I think some of the drivers did take to the paint schemes as well for the fun of it, so we'll see hopefully some throwback cars over the course of the evening. So make sure you're going to like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. As we give you a throwback night here. You can see right on screen right now that number 8 machine of, who is that number 8 machine? But he's got the old Bill Elliott throwback from the 80s. I think that's like the Winston Million. That's RJ Root. That's last week's winner. Slick ride there.
Yeah, and I think we had, was it 23 cautions last week for the Bristol Dirt Race. Great. That was a crazy finish, by the way, Corey. I went back and I watched it, and Root, I believe he was on the outside. The top 2 got a little bit tangled up there going into 3 and 4, and I expect another exciting finish here at Talladega. This track is famous for so many lead changes. I think the record in real life is actually 88 back in 2010, and I expect we're going to see a lot of exciting races and lead changes tonight as well.
Yes, it was back in the tandem era, but what we have to do now is give you the PTR Fast Globe, I can't say Speed World, PTR TV Fast Globe starting lineup at Talladega Super Speedway. On tonight's pole is Lucas Hoytsma with Blake Giglio. Remember, he was the one that lost last week. He's going to be on the outside of the front row. In third, we have John Delaney. We have Ryan Ducombe, who's going to be on camera with us in the 4th spot. Dustin Hall in 5th. Michael Christopher in the 6th spot. Jeff Hooper in 7th, and Rob Tracy in the 8th spot. 9th and 10th, row number 5, Robert Anderson and Jason Baker.
I'm going to go to you. My qualifying lineup is not pulling up yet, so you take it away.
Yeah, we got Josh Ward in 11th. We got Jason Taylor in 12th. Dave Hughes Jr. in 13th. Matt Long in the 14th spot. Devin Medeiros in the 15th spot with Jeffrey Souza to his outside. Bryson Alexander in 17th. League admin Kevin Steele, number 24, rolling off in position number 18 with Bryson Hicksonbaugh at 19th. And Patrick Mouche, he had a great run last week, only to have a blown engine in 20th. Cameron Stone, number 57 in 21st spot. Mason Lowry in 22nd. Damian Asarenza at 23rd. David Duke in 24th. Chad Sanner, Thomas Twomey, Randy Drumhiller, Brian Mabry in 28th, and rounding out your top 30, Dalton Mobley. We have him on camera, and last week's winner, RJ Root, back in the 30th position. Terrible qualifying run for him. And then rounding out the field, Brell, Edwards, Kyle Ammon. We have him on cam. Preston McRae, a fan favorite in our YouTube chat. Matt Gaskins, Alex Princeton in 36, and then final row, Ross Brockman and JC Gibson. Oh, actually, we have row number 20, Damaris Hickenbottom and Ryan Samuelson. That is our PTR TV Fast Globe starting lineup here at the Talladega Super Speedway. Weather conditions here tonight. Actually, we didn't have weather condition graphics in the 80s, so I don't have them here. So, Tyler, do you have the weather for us?
Tell you, it looks sunny enough out here. I don't see rain in the forecast. You know, I do see some clouds looking further out, but yeah, the weather app didn't exist back in the 90s, so it looks good enough to me to race, but you never know.
Yeah, so I guess we'll just, pray it doesn't rain, because I don't think we had Air Titans back in this era either, so we will see what happens. But Lucas Hoitzman is going to be the man in charge of this initial start to the inside. And Tyler, I think that was our Walmart Everstart starting lineup, if sponsors of the 90s comes back to me right there.
Well, Corey, I got to tell you, I think iRacing is stuck in the 90s a little bit right now, because we don't even have rain available on the service. So these guys are going to be clean and green and ready to go here in just a minute.
Hey, that's a roast podcast that we're going to be having one of these days, but you'll have to stay tuned for that at a later date. But here we come at Talladega into the infamous Tri-Oval, as we've talked about millions of times, that famous start-finish line at the end of the Tri-Oval. Why? Because the guy who built this track wanted to sell seats, and he knew it would be easier to sell the seats farther down in the Tri-Oval if that's where the start-finish line was. So as we wait for Hoitzman to get on that loud pedal to get this race underway, the Intimidator 500 on PTR TV is green. We're racing at Talladega.
A very spread out start here in the beginning as these drivers are getting up to speed. Obviously, the engine is restricted, so it'll take them a couple laps to get up to about 190 plus mile an hour.
Yeah, so far right to the bottom of the track. Now, we did talk last week to one of our drivers. Who was his? I cannot remember what his name is, but one of the drivers last week actually gave us the expectation that this may be a little bit of a snoozer in terms of he doesn't think people are going to want to race, and that we may be this single file for the vast duration of this race. Now, for the sake of this broadcast, I am most certainly expecting him and hoping that he's wrong. But so far, it looks like our top 20 or so drivers are in single file formation.
Well, I've done a lot of racing here at Talladega, Corey. I've raced 87s, I've raced the Xfinity, Cup cars. Heck, I've even raced off-road trucks here. And I got to tell you, it doesn't matter what vehicle, what conditions, it's always a great show here at Talladega. Now, if you look back at the Daytona race earlier this season, the drivers were pretty tame, like I mentioned before in the first half, and a lot of the drivers wanted to stay towards the bottom. But I suspect, especially when we get towards the end of stage number 1, these guys are going to start making some crazy moves.
Yeah, I hope that is the case. Again, lap number 60, based on my research, should be the lap of the stage. But one thing we didn't do, we didn't get to show you guys the camera segment. 4 drivers we do have. We have Ryan Ducombe in the number 99 machine. He's currently in 4th. Dalton Mobley in the 77 machine. He's back in 31st right now. Kyle Ammon, we know he qualified back there. He's in 35th. And John Delaney, who is kind of the fastest of the bunch based on his results this season, he's in 3rd. So we're going to be following up with them over the course of the race to see how their efforts continue. But you can already see it looks like about a 10 car breakaway. Josh Ward in that 67, he is the last in the conga line, if you will. But with the new updates, this car, Tyler, had some drafting updates to make it a little bit more realistic. and emulate how the car really drafts. And these single file chains, if you have 12 cars in a pack versus 8 cars in a pack, that 12 car pack is definitely going to be faster.
Yeah, I know there were some growing pains with the NextGen model coming on iRacing, and I know they've worked really hard, as much as I like to roast them sometimes, to try and make this more realistic. And hey, I tell you what, so far, both Atlanta and Daytona in real life have been really exciting, and I think that it's going to come true again here in the virtual world at Talladega. But yeah, right now, they're pretty single file. In fact, there was a little bit of a breakaway there the first few laps. Now that second pack is caught right back up, and we've got one giant line all around the backstretch.
I mean, dating a game that probably goes back to the era that we're emulating with the late 90s, well, mid to late 90s, Snake. You know, just having that big curvy line that just completely just waves around the landscape. Kind of right now we're on board with Randy Drumhiller, who's currently in the 38th position right now, and just look at that 37 car train straight on the bottom. Guys, we got to start going. I don't want to talk about this for 183 laps.
Yeah, this is a little bit bizarre. Your inside information, I guess, was
here
correct.
goes Drumhiller. He's making something for us. He must have the broadcast up. He's going to the outside. He's like, I'm going to make a show for him for last. Somebody has lost the draft there, all the way at the back. I saw someone running by themselves. I think that's Matthew Gaskins.
Yeah, he is way off the pace. I don't know if he had a delay on the start or what happened, but very strange for him to be that far back. Again, we're only on lap number 4, or actually lap number 5, but he's going to have to pick up the pace and hope a caution comes out very soon.
Yeah, most certainly, because if that does not happen, then, you know, the only good thing, if he is a lap down and a caution comes out, he's basically guaranteed the free pass. But if they're just going to be conga lining on the bottom of the racetrack, then the odds of him getting a caution, well, they're probably on the slim side. So kind of pick your poison there. And this does give us the chance to, again, talk about our point standings in a little bit further detail, since we don't have too much in the way of crazy action on the racetrack right now, but that will change over the course of the evening. Just getting my my point standings here. So we do have, after last week, remember at Bristol Dirt with RJ Root winning the race, in terms of the actual Winston Cup style points, John Delaney is up by 83 over Long, who's in second, Ralph Hutchison in third, Lucas Hoytsma in fourth. But that is our Winston Cup style standings. That is not the standings we're going to be going by. I'll bring those on the screen right now. These are our playoff standings, with Delaney having 3 wins, Nick Ottinger having 3 wins, but not racing here tonight. And then all the way up to top 5 locked in to the playoffs with their victories. That leaves 11 spots open. Alex Primson is the last one in with a 2-point buffer over 17. So that's where they stand. And as we know, Talladega is a place to shuffle that up.
No, it definitely is a place to shuffle it up. But you know what? If you look at the Winston Cup style points, our top 3 drivers, Delaney, who's in first, Hutchinson, who's in third, and then Lucas Hoytsma is fourth. So the top 3 drivers in the Daytona 500 are still top 5 in the point standing. So, you know, I know there's a lot of unpredictability that happens with these races, and it gets criticized quite a bit for all the attrition, and I don't want to take away from that, but clearly there's still a lot of talent that's involved in trying to get to victory lane in these events.
Yes, there is. And as we saw last week at Bristol, is you expect there to be ringers and, you know, wild cards on certain combinations, and it really didn't happen. We saw Delaney, we saw Root, we saw all the guys that we're used to seeing up front in these races, even on the dirt at Bristol. They were still acting like that. They were still up front. So you come to a wild card like this, and yeah, you're going to get drivers up front that you don't traditionally see. As I look down the lineup right now, you wouldn't be able to tell that. We have a couple, Jeff Hooper, Rob Tracy, Dave Fuge Jr. I haven't seen him before. He's in just outside the top 10. But for the most part, your guys who you're used to seeing up front, they're still up front right now. They're still doing what they need to do.
Yeah, they are, and again, we got 188 laps here. We're only on lap 9, so a long ways to go in this one. It's not the 100% Cup League for no reason, and see a driver going way outside there. Couldn't tell who that was, but falling back the number 12 car. I think that's Jason Taylor.
Yes, it is. Trying to make out what scheme that. If that's a custom scheme, it kind of looks like it has vibes of a Jeff Gordon.
Yeah,
Willie
I think
D
that's
scheme.
Yeah, William Byron scheme, and it's funny because the car ahead of him, I believe that's Cameron Stone, has another Gordon throwback look, the Rainbow Warrior.
Yes. Vibing. We are vibing with the retro schemes here. And just behind that, I mean, number 24, Kevin Steele. That looks like a Chase Elliott rookie car. Now, does that qualify as retro? Is 2016 retro to get a trophy or any kind of recognition?
I don't know. I think it's got to be at least 2006 or before for me to call it retro. But, opinions vary on that, Corey. But we'll give it an A for effort for trying at least.
I know that's one thing that I listen to on my radio when I'm listening to the radio in the car. And, they'll say, this is a classic throwback song. And I'm like, that came out when I was in high school. Oh, wait, I was in high school a long time ago. Maybe it is a throwback, but...
Tell you what, it's probably not truly a throwback in my eyes, but that Brian Maubrey car, the number 31, that looks like one of the old Kevin Harvick or Casey Kane Budweiser schemes with the black, or even maybe a throwback to when I think Dale Jr. ran a black Budweiser car, actually.
Yeah, it has vibes of... I know I've seen Harvick run something similar, but it does have those junior lines to it. We already talked about R.J. Root, last week's winner. He has the Bill Elliott scheme, only one number off from the Winston Million winning car there. I saw an IWX car. That is a... Oh my God, that is going to bother me. That was a Busch scheme. IWX car, who is that? I think that was number 14. That's Dave Hughes Jr. That's a Busch car. And it's going to bother me this entire race because I'm not going to have any idea who it is. Maybe someone in chat, if that scheme rings a bell, you can... remind us. I see a Rusty Wallace scheme. A little bit further ahead, I want to say that's Rob Tracy in the number 33 machine. Or is that the number 30? Nope, it's the number 31 machine. 36. Oh my. I can't get numbers right to save my life right now. Jeff Hooper. And the retro Rusty Wallace scheme. So if he's going to emulate that properly, then he needs to be upside down in the tri-oval.
Yeah, he probably would have Dale give him a little bit of a bump to cause that. And as I'm looking back through the field, I see the number 7 of Thomas Twomey, number 7 Wrangler machine. That's a nice tribute to Dale.
Yeah, let's try to take a look at him on camera right now. Again, we're having some fun with it, guys. So if anyone in our chat, again, feel free to let us know what you like. We're hoping to see a little bit of spice up towards the stage. Now, we will have some green flag pit stops at one point or another. I'm assuming probably in the realm of lap 40 to 45-ish is my estimation. I've heard it varies very, very dependently on where you are in the draft. If you're the leader, you're going to be on the shorter end of the spectrum because you're flat out pulling the train. But if you're 20th in this pack and you're about half throttle, you might be able to go 2, 3, 4 laps farther than some other guys.
Yeah, and as I look throughout the field, they're very strung out. So I think that they are taking their time, probably not full throttle around this venue, and maybe trying to save as much fuel as they can.
Because you have to get... Now, this is the part of where the stages kind of throw a wrench in things, so you can technically probably go to lap 40 or so, but if you know you have a stage on lap 60, then... I mean, what would stop you from just pitting on lap 60? I mean, lap 30 and just splitting the difference? I mean, everyone's probably going to stagger for the sake of not having 100 cars on pit road on the same lap. Because that is another thing, Tyler, that we probably... I mean, it's worth talking about. We know how the brakes are in these next-gen machines. And getting brake temp into these machines, into the brakes is... it's actually a very big topic on the iRacing forums these days. But separate from that, getting some brake temp in, so when you do need to pit... that the thing actually stops for you.
Yeah, no, it's always a worry for me, whether I'm a driver or a crew chief or just a fan. Anytime you're at Talladega or Daytona and you've got a green flag pit stop, because one, you got to worry about having some partners to go in because you don't want to get hung out to dry and go in by yourself because you're going to get blown away lose so much time. And then you also have to worry about getting slowed down. As you said, these brakes in particular on these cars are very difficult and kind of twitchy to deal with. I don't have a lot of experience in the NextGen car, to be honest with you, but I have heard that there's some issues. And these guys are going over 190 mile an hour, and then they have to just slam on the brakes coming off of 4, get on that apron and get woed down and make pit road speed limit, all the while making sure that the guy behind you doesn't run into you. So a lot of things can happen during these green flag pit stops, and I would suspect that if we have a large amount of these guys come in at the same time, we might see an accident.
Yeah, and that's where driver communications are huge. We do have that one up over the real world where they can talk directly to everybody in the field, get those laps. You're going to coordinate who goes where. A lot of times you'll even communicate where are you going to go off of 4. Are you going to go all the way to the inside wall and get maximum space? Are you going to stay mid-high on the track and try to give that place? Are you going to try to just monkey in the middle and just see what you can do? All those kind of things do come into play on pit stops here, as it did look like there was some shuffling back.
Yeah, there's two packs right now, Corey. Probably the last 10 or so drivers have fallen way back from that initial snick that we have, and there for a while they were 2 by 2. I don't know if they were just bored and wanting to mess around or what, but now they're back to being single file again.
Yeah, it's Chad Edwards in the number 4 machine and the hefty Mustang, who has the Pizza Hut Dale Jr. behind him, 53 of Preston McRae, fan favorite. There's always love in our YouTube chat for Preston McRae, so Preston with the throwback Pizza Hut Dale Jr. I mean, Pizza Dale Jr. Talladega. I mean, name something else beside a Budweiser that you need, I suppose, right?
Exactly. I see Dalton Mobley looking to the outside, trying to make a run with some guys behind him. That 53 machine, that might be my favorite. I am partial to Dale Jr. and Budweiser, but hey, appreciate the throwback. And yeah, there's a line forming way outside, leaving those 2 drivers on the inside out to dry.
Yeah, so we're going to check out, we're on board with Dalton Mobley right now, currently in that 25th position. You can see he's in that nice dark stealth room there, full focused, trying to see what he can do. And just kind of getting back to everybody else. What's going on? That's 40 machine going a lap down, or just kind of getting shuffled to the back of the field, trying to see who that machine is right there. Damian Acerenza just losing some spots to the inside lane.
Yeah, and Damian, he pulled down below those guys on the inside, and they had to check up. Really made it squirrely there for a second for those drivers right in the back.
Yes, it did. So it's going to the front of the field, and again, not really missing much in the way of anything. Now, if there's one thing that comes out of this race for a Lucas Hoytsma is I'd call it artificial stat padding, because you're literally just getting laps led without doing absolutely anything to deserve it. He's turning left, he's going straight, he's got the pedal to the floor, and he's just stat padding that laps led category.
No, he is, right now, fully in command of this pack, but again, when the drivers behind you aren't really making much of a move to pass you, that's what's going to happen. So, yeah, I'm just a little bit surprised, Corey. I thought these guys would be at least trying to make an outside lane work. I figured we weren't going to have 3 or 4 wide racing this early in the event, but this is a little bit bizarre.
Yeah, I did it because you do. One thing that is important on these plate tracks is you need to figure out, especially because this is an open setup series, so you do need to figure out there are like who has what car, who has a pushing car, who has a car that is better off to lead. These are things that you do need to figure out. Who are you comfortable pushing? Who runs a smoother lane? Who is who's going to be the one to hook up with you and get that lane going? Now, they may already know these things from just past experiences, but I would kind of want to play around in a safe manner, not go for holes that don't exist, but just kind of fight around a little bit and just kind of scope the field out, get that scouting report, if you will.
You don't want to pull a wrecky Stenhouse, as some would say, and make an aggressive move early and wreck half the field. But if you look at a lot of the great plate drivers or pack drivers throughout NASCAR in real life, whether it's the Earnhardts or even Keselowski, Logano, there's a few of them. They all seem to agree that you want to try and figure out as much as you can before you get to the end of the race. And I know Dale Jr. in particular was very adamant that he would try everything he could to get back to the front. And even if he fell back, he would just regroup and use it as a learning tool, because this really is a game of high-speed chess. It is so critical for these guys to know what moves to make and when. And when you're just riding around like these guys are single file, you're not learning anything. So I hope that these guys maybe listen in the broadcast and take heed to our advice.
Yeah, I actually remember hearing Junior say he'd have little competitions with himself and say, hey, I can get to the front in 5 laps, or I can get to the front in 25 laps if I go to the back of the field. And you also, going back to, the Winston Cup era, 2000, 2001, stuff like that. I remember, what a segue. I was literally just about to talk about Bobby Labonte, and I just found a Bobby Labonte car, Mason Lowry, in that number 56. You had Bobby Labonte, you had Dale Jarrett, Terry Labonte. What would they do for 95% of these races? They would sit 10, 15 seconds. They wouldn't even care to lose the draft. They would voluntarily lose the draft, avoid the big one, and then just try to get what they can get with about 15, 20 laps to go.
Yeah, I remember Dale Jarrett winning a few plate races here and there, but, the Labonte brothers, I don't think they were necessarily known for their pack racing accomplishments. So, every driver's different. Obviously, there's different rules and packages. And again, we have a brand new car here on iRacing that they keep tweaking. So I'm just not sure what the strategy is with some of these guys riding around. But hey, to each their own. I'm not behind the wheel, so I'll leave it to them.
Well, if there was probably one of the best plate moments Bobby Labonte had during the pack era. He did win a race at Talladega, I believe, in '98, but that was when passing was rather difficult. But 2001 EA Sports 500, he did end up on his roof on the back straightaway, which led to Dale Jr. Winning that race, I believe, battling Burton and who was the other guy? It was battling Burton and Stewart, I believe. And then I think Bobby Labonte, he's been upside down quite a bit of these plate races. Wasn't he upside down in the Pepsi 400 too, one of those years? I think he was.
He kind of turned into Rusty Wallace 2.0 there with some of the flips at the super speedways. But
right, so what we're going to do here on PTR TV is we're going to go side by side, and we're going to recalibrate ourselves back into 2022 mode. So we had some fun with the retro, but we're going to put the graphics back to 2022 standard. So we're going to go side by side while we do that. So stay with us. We'll be right back with you. back here on PTR TV for the 100% Cup Series at the Talladega Super Speedway in the Intimidator 500 here. It's myself, Corey Silva, in the booth, and we got Tyler Orn with us here today as we are now back in the modern era of 2022 graphics. We'll still have some fun with some old school puns and all that fun stuff, but at least visually we're going to be back here in the modern era. So we have seen a couple guys peel off to pit road, not anybody in our top 5, but some guys are getting ready to pit, as remember, stage ends on lap 60, and we're just now halfway through it.
Yeah, and right now we've actually got a second line forming here in the first pack. Should also note that Bryson Alexander in that McDonald's Bubba car, he pitted by himself, so he's at a huge disadvantage now, and I think he's not far ahead of our lead pack, so he's going to have some trouble here. Some other drivers as well scattered throughout the field.
And I just got from our YouTube chat the number. The IWX car, who I've already lost what number it was. It was the 14. It's actually a Mike Bliss truck from 2003. Mike Bliss won the championship in an IWX truck. So I was wrong. I said it was the Busch Series, but you know, it was something from that era. As here we go up front. These guys are trying to get around that lap traffic now, so it's kind of artificially getting the field a little bit in pack formation, if you will. Some guys clustering around 2-3 wide as we have that the tide ride. How did we miss a tide ride stuck in the middle right there?
Yeah, I love the Ricky Craven throwback.
Is that Craven or is that Rudd? I don't know how old school that is.
I have to get a closer look, Corey, but I think it's closer to a Ricky Craven than it is a Rudd.
Well, 2003. I mean, that qualifies as old school now, right?
Right. If it was still Winston Cup, it's old school.
Yeah, for real. We're actually. It's hard to believe next year is going to be the 20th anniversary of the last year of Winston Cup.
Yeah, that's crazy, Corey. And of course, that Tide, another car, it wasn't the Tide machine, but somebody ducked down there on the apron towards the back of that pack. A little bit bizarre.
Slow car. Oh, I'm trying to see who the slow cars are using our statistics that we have. Number 78 machine, the David Duke, is running by himself. I'm not sure if he's the one that lost the pack there, but haven't really missed anything. We haven't had a caution flag to slow things down yet. We have been green the whole time. Things that we now have in our 2022 era. The weather conditions here at Talladega, for what they're worth, which is pretty meaningless, but just for the sake of letting everybody know, it is cloudy conditions with 75 degrees in the air, 102-degree track temp, but Talladega is so grippy, the track temp could be 200 degrees, and you'll still be flat out. That's just kind of the nature of the super speedway.
We have some more guys that are getting passed on the outside, I think. That's Thomas Twomey in the number 7. And then Mouchy, I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Patrick Mouchy.
Patrick Mouchy in car number 46.
He was in so last week's race was actually a themed race, and it was a fast food sponsorship. Mouchy actually had a Chick-fil-A ride last week, so back to a normal scheme for this week's event at Talladega. Oh, Tyler, you know, we're going to have a caution flag because I forgot to play one of my retro videos in the intro.
Oh, my goodness, Corey.
We had Thunder Motion BP giving the calls on how to get around Talladega. We'll have to show that later on. We can't let that go to waste.
Well, luckily we have a stage break coming up here in about, 27 laps, I think. So that'll give us a chance to regroup and show that fun content. Man, I got to tell you, I really miss BP. Yeah. I still think the Bob Jenkins, Benny Parsons, Ben Jarrett trio on ESPN was the best broadcasting group there was. Although I gotta admit, I love doing it with you as well, Corey.
Yeah, I don't. Man, oh man, those BP-isms. I remember playing NASCAR on Nintendo 64, and he would have his little Benny-isms, as I would call them, and because it was N64, there was only about 7 or 8 commentary lines in the whole game, so every time you correct, man, oh man. But BP, rest his soul, they lost him in 2007. Of course, we just lost Bob Jenkins, I believe it was either 2020 or 2021. But Ned Jarrett, almost 90 years old. Ned Jarrett still up doing pretty well. So he actually used to be in the booth for a couple of the retro Darlington races. I think upwards of about 5-6 years ago. So kind of, because there hasn't really been too many things going on, we haven't really got to focus on much of our onboard drivers here this evening. So go on board with Kyle Ammon right now. He started in 33rd, currently running in the 19th position, so not too much going on for him on this evening, but again, still a lot of time to go. It's just a nature of it. There's not really much urgency in these races when, you know, you have single file brigade, you can't do anything if you want to. It's almost just kind of just waiting and seeing if something happens.
Oh, the poor tide ride, Robert W. Anderson. There might be 2 tide rides out here tonight, Corey. I'm not sure, but position 40. We've got our leaders coming up on him. He is well off the pace.
Yep, he's going to go a second lap down now as the 65 machine of, as you said, Robert Anderson. We have 30 drivers on the lead lap. Ryan Ducombe in the 99 is currently the driver who would be your free pass representative right now if it does offer itself. Now he does have to stay ahead of that number 79 Matthew Gaskin, so that could be a potential fight, because that is the battle for the free pass, and you're not going to be able to take a wave around. Actually, maybe they will if they already pitted. So we'll kind of see what happens, because remember, most of these guys are only going to have a few laps of fuel left, just purely given how long we expect them to be able to go.
Yeah, and it's funny. Oh, we see our leaders coming in right now. Quite a few of them on the apron.
There's Hoytsma, Giglio. We have Christopher Tracy. So that is the gaggle down pit road that we expected. And we'll see if anybody does have any problems. I don't see any smoke, as we can see Buster, the pace car driver, right there. Actually, I don't even know if his name is Buster, but I guess now it is. But that will give the lead to Josh Ward in the 67 machine. Him, Stone, Hicksenbaugh, Lowry. Looks like our top 17 are still without a pit stop. Top 6 in a pack, and then we actually have to go back 12 seconds from our lead pack to Jeffrey Souza, who leads the second pack.
As I'm seeing these drivers coming off of pit road, it's always interesting to figure out if anyone got left behind. And I think for the most part, they're spaced out, but they can, if they back off a little bit, coming down the backstretch, they can probably get linked back up.
Yeah, we'll see if that happens. I don't think we've checked out John Delaney so far this evening, so we'll bring him up and see how he is indeed faring in number 6 machine. Remember, 3-time winner this season. Came so close to the win last week at Talladega, but he is currently running in the 26th position behind Devin Medeiros. So he is still on the lead lap, though. That's the important part. So even though he did make his pit stop, he is in, he's on the lead lap. If caution was to come out, no harm, no foul, he still is going to be on the lead lap and get those positions back, as they are swerving around. I think that was David Duke in the IWX machine we were just talking about.
And as I'm looking through this field, we've got Jason Taylor on pit road. Some other drivers coming off right now. That's Hooper, Steele, Long, Root.
Yeah, you can see
a lot of different strategies. A lot of guys. We've got a bunch of little mini packs throughout this entire track at the moment, and I am wondering how it's all going to play out. Once everybody cycles through. Now,
at least for the most important part, if we are kind of preying on a stage battle at the very least, we're still waiting on about 10 drivers to pit. Your top 6, as well as Dustin Hall, Devin Medeiros, John Delaney, and Dave Baker, according to my telemetry, I believe. But here they come on pit road. At least I thought John Delaney had already pitted, but based on my telemetry that I have, I think he actually has stayed out. So I talked about him being on the tail end of the lead lap. Well, he might actually be in a much worse position than that. We'll have to see. But here comes that lead pack onto pit road. So we'll see Lucas Hoytsma. He's on the back straightaway. He was our leader just a few laps ago before he pitted. You can see he is about, I don't know, 6th, 7th, or 8th in line in that pack that he is in. I think that pack is being led by that pink machine, Dustin Hall. He was our pit reporter last week in the Crumble Cookies machine. So.
And Brian Hicksonbaum might be in a little bit of trouble. He was a bit behind those drivers coming off of pit road in that pack. I'm wondering if he's going to be able to stay in the draft at this moment.
Yeah, looking at the telemetry now, something that we could see on the back end is everybody else's pit stop roughly 8 seconds. Bryson Hicksonbaum, his pit stop 12.5. So it looks like he must have taken 4 tires, where everybody else at least took fuel only, if not 2 tires. So that is something that does happen. But up front, here we come with the 67 of Josh Ward. He is battling the number 13 machine here of Tim Rell. Tim Rell is last on the lead lap right now. Actually, he may be registered. We'll have to wait for scoring as to whether he's on the lead lap or the tail end of the lead lap. See what it is as he crosses the stripe this time. Tim Morrell in that number 36. He is the last car on the lead lap, so we'll see how long that lasts for. Apparently not very long, because here comes Ward to the outside. Cameron Stone in the 57 is going to go with the leader to that outside of the track, as well as RJ Root. So they are going to get Rell off of the lead lap. And then the 53 machine just behind, that's Preston McRae. So that will be the lucky dog battle between those two makeshift DEI machines.
Yeah, DEI is not having quite the prowess they typically do at Talladega, but you know what? It's early, Corey, so these guys have time. If they get stuck a lap down, you know, they can either do a wave round possibly or get the lucky dog, and you know, we're only on lap 42 of 188.
Yeah, we are. So the last one thing of note, and obviously it's not going to happen just because of the matter of stages, but interesting tidbit that I believe is true. The last caution-free race in NASCAR history actually was at Talladega Superspeedway. I believe it was the 2002 EA Sports 500. If it wasn't that, it was the 2001 Aaron's 499 won by the late Bobby Hamilton. But I want to say it was 2002. But someone will have to correct me.
I could be wrong, but I think it was actually the first restrictor plate race after Dale died, and everybody raced so conservative.
Yeah, that was the 2001. That was the 2001 Aaron's 499. That was the Bobby Hamilton race. But something is telling me, we got 28 people watching live right now, so one of you has to be able to tell me, was the 2002 EA Sports 500? I remember that was a weird race where Mark Martin had some kind of a steering issue and crashed Jimmy Johnson on the pace lap. But maybe someone in chat will be able to correct me on that. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, you know what? You know, I'm wrong quite often. I'm used to that. So.
Well, either way, it's been a long time since we've had a caution-free race, and I guess now with the stages, we really won't have one unless that's eliminated. Yeah, which we know that's not going to happen, but. Right. So let's see, just get a little reset of where things stand right now. We have Josh Ward, Cameron Stone, RJ Root, Mason Lowry. They are 1st through 4th right now. They are, you know, mixed in with a couple lap cars. 5th place, Dustin Hall is in the second pack. Second pack is 3 seconds back. That consists of Devin Medeiros, John Delaney. John Mulaney's a comedian. I always get that mixed up. Jason Baker, Dave Fuge Jr., and Brian Mabry, your top 10. But in that pack, it does go back with Kevin Steele, Bryson Hicksonbaugh, Michael Christopher, Lucas Hoytsma. Remember, he was just your leader not too long ago, and Blake Giglio. So theoretically, we could have 15 guys fighting for 10 stage positions in about 15 laps time. Yeah, second pack is way behind. You've got Ducombe, Twomey, Anderson's, I think, a lap down, but he's in that pack as well. Alexander's 18th. Jeffrey Selza is in 19th. And then Long in the number 97 machine, rounding out the top 20.
one thing I was supposed to say earlier, but we are experimenting with some new cameras here on PTR TV today. These cameras are brought to you by Track Cams for Gourmets by Istvan Bauer. You can check him out at trackcams22.com, and there is some information in the description. Just experimenting with a new camera package here. I think we're going to use these in the future, but it's got a little bit of a trial here for Talladega. So if you do like them, be sure to check out the link in the description. So advertisement aside, who is that up front? We have two drivers on the just about to get swallowed up by the leaders, Randy Drumhiller and Jason Taylor. Just as a kind of a description, we have Jason Taylor will bring up his last lap time on the screen right now, a 51.8. In comparison to your leader, who had a 49.8, so literally a 2-second gap between two cars and a pack in relation to speed.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling when you're that far off the pace and you just feel like a freight train goes running right past you. You know, it'd be like driving down the interstate. You know, you're going about 55 mile an hour and somebody blows past you going 90. That's what it feels like when you're not in the lead pack like that.
You can see right here that they are just swarming by him on the top of the racetrack. Choo choo, Thomas the Train, and he just got dropped off at the station.
Now it's interesting that those top four left the DEI cars out to drive, and you know, they're a lap down, so they're going to have to get behind those other lap down cars and fight amongst themselves.
So that puts the free pass battle to now Jason Taylor. He is now your free pass driver. So technically of that top pack, Tyler, that does put us in a little bit of an interesting situation where you do have a guaranteed caution coming up in 12 laps, and you have four guys just hanging on to the lead pack there that all want that free pass. So do they start racing amongst each other? Are we going to have pit stops on the stage? Is there going to be free pass potential? Or wave round potential, excuse me. So a bunch of things here. And actually, we need to look at Jason Taylor's car in a little bit further detail. Does he have duct tape on the hood that is covering up a sponsor for a replacement sponsor? Yes, he does. I have yet to see that one, but that one is creative. I like that. Trying to see if we can get a good cam of that. There it is.
That's pretty creative, Corey. I gotta admit, I haven't seen that one before either. So you always see something new.
I think it's Black Flag Motorsports, and you can see on the we do have our fancy, you know, I guess if you want to call it a drone cam this week. Okay, it's not going to work. Oh, there it goes. You can see on the side of the car, it's a covered up Exalta, and then put a Black Flag piece of duct tape on there. That deserves the Kmart Everstart, Walmart Everstart award of the race. Whatever sponsors were there back in the day. There was, who was on Derek Cope's car in the 90s? Wasn't there some kind of Jimmy Dean Sausage award of the race? We'll give it that. There you go.
Yeah, Jimmy Dean's. Well, I tell you, I saw the other day there's still 3 Kmarts left. 3 Kmart stores left in this world, and I thought for sure they were gone about 5 years ago. So a remnant of this era, I guess, is still around. But you know, when you talk about the battles up front and with the lap cars, there are a few different races win this race. Obviously, you've got the top, I believe, 4 drivers battling for the stage win, and then that second half are a lap down, and I would suspect that they're going to fight pretty hard here in the last lap or two, trying to get that lucky dog. And again, I know we've got 2 teammates there at the tail end, so they're going to try themselves to at least let one of them get that lucky dog.
We do have a little mini battle, as I kind of expected for, again, there is stage points on the line. So that second pack does have John Delaney in the number 6 machine, trying to charge that outside lane. He does have Kevin Steele pushing him, and I believe Bryson Hicksenbaugh, if I can see correctly. So you can see John Delaney currently on board. You wouldn't even think he was racing by how cool he looks here on the camera, but that's kind of how Talladega is. I used to talk about it with our other commentator, Evan Black, that a lot of time these plate tracks, they're patient, they're like aggressively or intensely boring. Because you do have to be on the wheel, you do have to be fully focused, you do have to make sure you have nice, precise movements, but at the same time, when nothing's happening, it is kind of boring, even sometimes in a side-by-side battle.
Yeah, these drivers in some circumstances are riding around, but again, I think as we get closer to the end of stage number 1, they're going to start thinking really hard about what moves they want to make. You can already see they're looking a bit more squirrely, peeking to the outside, maybe trying to make sure their temps are not getting too high in the draft. But with that outside line, they're hanging in there for the moment. They need a few more cars to really make it work.
And that is something that, as we talked a little bit earlier with the iRacing updates that they did with the aero model on the NextGen cars, side drafting is very important, and it does change what we've been used to for years. If you're running that outside lane, you can't pinch the inside lane. If you pinch the inside lane, you're actually causing everybody to slow down with how the side draft works. You almost have to keep that one lane space in between, allow it to get wound up, and then just keep giving those pushes. Try to lock bumpers, try to tandem for as long as that engine will, of the pusher, will allow you to.
And we can see, Corey, more and more drivers going to that outside lane. That line is gaining more and more momentum, inching closer and closer to the front of that pack.
Yes, it is. And again, that is Dustin Hall in the number 1 machine. He has Devin Medeiros in that Cheerios ride right behind him, and you can see here as we pan the camera slightly to the left, you can see that outside lane doing the best it can to chug, and if that's where it gets its run on the backstretch. Oh, here comes it to the top of the racetrack. That's Jason Baker. Baker in the 51. He's going to inherit that push from Delaney. And then here comes Steele, Hixenbaugh, and company behind him. They can see they're locking bumpers right now. That's exactly what you need to do to get those runs going. Delaney, John Delaney with that. His helmet is absolutely classic, if you could see it, Tyler. He's given that push, and look at them go to the lead of the pack. Not the lead of the pack. But what does he do? Does he drop it? Does he hang? Nope, he's gonna be a good Samaritan and stay up there with him.
He's trying to stay with his drafting partner, and it's too early to be making a move, I think, to, for lack of a better way of putting it, screw over the guy behind you. You want to try and keep as many friends as you can, and now they drop to the bottom as they gain some more ground.
So anybody that says you cannot make a pass on the bottom needs to have a conversation with Jason Baker and John Delaney, because they just did it absolute clutch manner, and now I bet John Delaney is trying to peek to the left side, get some air on the nose of that car, because that definitely caused some temperature gain there, as we do have a battle for the actual lead with Josh Ward going to the outside, giving it to Stone and Root. The way he did that, I don't know if it was a temperature thing, if it's a friends or teammate thing, but didn't, at least from the quick shot that we saw, it didn't really seem to be too contested.
Yeah, just let him go on by. That was that may have been planned, Corey. I don't know. There's a lot of strategy that comes into these, or like you mentioned, it could be the temps. Maybe something happening with that. I don't know, but yeah, that's our first lead change. Well, outside of pit stops, I think that's our first true lead change tonight. And we got maybe some drivers coming on pit road. Yes, we do. A few of them. Taylor. I know Taylor is one of them right now.
We'll try to pan over to some of them if we can. And again, interesting strategy. Now, remember, the pits do close with 2 to go. So this would have been the last lap that the pits are open. So if they pit now, we do have Randy Drumhiller on pit road as well. This would allow them to stay out and inherit the track position for stage 2. So they just only asterisk to that is they have to stay on the lead lap for that to happen.
Do splash and go, take right side tires, and hope that with the end of the stage they can just hang on.
Now Taylor and Drumhiller, both of these drivers are a lap down, so I'm not too sure about the reason.
They're trying to get the wave around, Corey. That's what it is. They figured they couldn't get their lap back, the old-fashioned way. So they thought, what if we pit early? It's actually a really smart move if they can pull it off.
Yeah, as long as they're only the 1 lap down, which scoring does show is the case, then yeah, that's absolutely brilliant to stay 1 lap down, assume that everyone else is going to pit on the stage, and then just wave around here. Yeah, that's $1 million thinking, and I'll tell you, I don't have $1 million crew chief brain for that.
Yeah, it reminds me, we've seen a lot of great moves by crew chiefs and strategists in this sport, but that was smart.
Yes, we come to be 2. I believe this will be 2 to go. We're taking lap number 59. The stage, I believe, is at lap 60, or it's 10 positions into lap 60 approximately. Remember, our admins are driving, so sometimes the calls are slightly delayed because they're busy trying to wheel these machines around as well. But we'll see if anybody does go for the stage win. Will RJ Root try to keep his momentum going off of his Bristol Dirt win? We do have Mason Lowry kind of backing up a little bit, as well as, and also the 56 has those 2 lap cars behind him as well. So what kind of role does Rel and McRae play, or do they just kind of ride and let those top 4 battle it out, if they even choose to battle it out?
Yeah, I think they're probably talking in their team radio right now, trying to figure out. I don't think they want to wreck each other, trying to get the lucky dog, their teammates, but I don't know. We'll find out. 1 more lap to go here for the end of the stage.
We will see. There was some battling still going on within that second pack that we saw. Looks like they even have fizzled out a little bit. I don't see much going on up there, but at least up front. Whoa, a little bit of a wiggle there. Have we just managed to get these packs together here on the last lap?
They got single file, Corey, and they're making a run at it here through turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, we didn't even see that at all. So that's a complete dynamic change here, because all of a sudden I'm like, where did that other pack go? Oh, they're already here. We just missed the telemetry on that, but here they come. Remember, it's when the top 10 crosses the stripe that the yellow will approximately come out. They're going to battle until I believe the positions are locked at the line, if memory serves. But there is the caution right on cue. So again, that really shows, Tyler, that when you get guys that are dedicated and know how to push in a single file line like that, you can gain a ton of time.
They certainly can. And another thing that helped that second pack too is a couple of those lap cars in that first pack did dive into the pits, so the lead pack had even less vehicles to try and keep their momentum.
Yeah, most certainly. It is definitely a numbers game, and it's a matter of how good can you push. So these guys will assemble behind that pace car. They will have to find him, first of all. I don't know where he's hiding here on the Talladega Super Speedway. Usually you catch the pace car somewhere in the vicinity of turn 4. And you can already see that they are prepping for their pit stops. And we will have another 60-lap segment to finish us out. Looks like Delaney choosing to stay out.
Pit road is closed, Corey. I don't understand why those drivers came in. Maybe there's something going on with the admins that are... I don't know.
On board with somebody just so we can show you guys the lights. You look to the left of your screen right now. Very quickly, you saw there that the pit light were indeed red.
The driver almost wrecked. Chad Scanner about ran into the transparent pace car and almost crashed on the inside wall on the backstretch, off screen. But I don't understand, Corey. I'm at a loss here.
Yeah. So it's. Yeah, I'm trying to, I mean, I'm a day one iRacing guy, so I do kind of have a good representation of how the rules and how the race control works. And depending when the caution is thrown, sometimes you have to go another lap around, sometimes you don't. Not quite sure, but one thing I do know about this series is there is absolutely no manual black flag clearing done. So if there is a wreck, or rather if there's any kind of penalty, you do have to serve it, because the admins are not just going to clear a penalty, have it be unjust and have it be race altering. So
Corey, I'm lost too, because we've got drivers coming in, but the red lights are still on at the pit road entrance. So
yeah, and we're on board here with Delaney, so you can see the pit exit lights. But yeah, and you can still see the pit exit lights. This is an 79 machine into the entrance of the pit wall. That was Matthew Gaskins. We'll take a whole bunch of hoopla going on right now. We'll see what happened to him very quickly. Go on board with PTR TV replay. Got it on screen now. He's pulling off of the racetrack onto the pit entry area. Going very slow. And he stopped, and Patrick Mouchet hit him. I don't know why maybe he stopped because he saw the pits were closed and Mouchet was already committed, but
yeah, I don't know, because he actually lagged out on my end for just a second when he was spinning. So maybe there was something weird that happened with the network, Corey. I don't know, but I've seen some bizarre things in iRacing and racing in general. And I don't know. There's so much chaos that's happened here under caution. I'm just trying to take it all in.
yeah, most certainly the case. So
But this has got to completely mess up the entire standings. I mean, all those drivers who came in the first time have to be put to the back with the black flag. And then that second round of drivers, which was most of the field, I believe the pits were still closed at that point as well.
yes.
So I think the scoring is going to be pretty scrambled.
Yeah, I think that is a fair representation of what we're going to have, is a bunch of scrambledness. So one thing that I'm going to try to do is, if I can find him, going to bring down John Delaney, and perhaps he can enlighten us to what's going on here. Working on getting him into the right room if I can, which it's a little bit difficult when you're trying to meet. Are we on one to go, Tyler, by chance?
I think the lights are still on the pace car, so no, but we've also got some drivers passing the pace car, so I think we still have 2 to go at least.
But at least from my side, I see the lights on, the lights off. So
Yeah, you're right. They just went off, Corey. I don't know. Maybe it's just a weird night for iRacing. I'm not sure. But
so what we're gonna do to break this a little bit of awkwardness is we're gonna have some fun. I think it's only about 40 seconds. We're gonna go back in time and play some Thunder Motion with Benny Parsons.
And our Thunder Motion is powered by EA Sports NASCAR Thunder 2002. This racetrack, really and truly, you can run about any place that you want to go. High, low, the middle of the racetrack. We'll see cars 3, 4 wide in the corners and 5 wide down the straightaway.
All right, let's see how good your car drafts up here.
All right, this is really key. They really got to work on. They work on these cars trying to suck up, to pull right up behind that car. But I've got such a good hot rod today, I'm going right by Sterling Marlin. Jimmy Spencer on the outside, he's not going to be a problem. And once I get that draft, that suck off that 18 car, it just pulls me right along, and it's like I got a rope and they're pulling me in, getting me closer and closer, and pile up on it. You're going to win. Hit him.
The big power move.
Hit him a little bit. You know, if I had a car that fast in today's race NASCAR, I would tear that car into 1,000 pieces trying to find out just what made that car so fast. EA Sports NASCAR Thunder 2002 is now available in stores.
There you go. Just having a little bit of fun back with old BP there. EA Sports Thunder Motion. Get yourself a copy of NASCAR Thunder 2002, which that was still, it's even to this day, that's actually a still damn good game and better than any NASCAR 21 Ignition has come out with. But through all the hoopla of that caution sequence, John Delaney and Jason Baker are your front row for what will be the start of stage 2 here at Talladega Superspeedway. So we're in the tri-oval. We're going to wait for the green flag to get this race underway for the second segment of tonight's efforts. And there's that green flag. We're back at it for round 2.
Delaney, another great start by him. Again, as we mentioned earlier in the race, it'll take these drivers about a lap or two to get up to full speed.
And we'll see indeed what they choose to do. We saw that obviously that last run was rather uneventful until the very end. We saw just a single file conga line, so we'll see if that's indeed what we have already so far. They're a lot more aggressive than they were the first time, because here comes that outside lane. Jason Baker with the push from Devin Medeiros in the 20, but that 14 machine of Dave Fuge is not really giving enough of a push from that distance, so he'll have to get a little bit closer to give that outside a chance.
And right now we have this pretty big pack going inside outside, but then if you look farther back through the field, they are a complete mess. They're all strung out and not together at all.
But here comes that outside lane for the lead at the stripe. We actually, I believe, will give it to Baker. If not, it was a whisker of a difference between the two. But as you said, there's a bunch of I don't even know the word for it, Tyler, but some of these guys are coordinated, some of them aren't. We do have about an 18-car lead pack right now. Jeffrey Souza, actually the 77 machine of Dalton Mobley, one of our onboard drivers, is leading that second charge from the 19th position right now.
Corey, I'm not sure why. We have a number of drivers who just came on the pit road. There's probably 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah, now, is this a strategy call, or is this a penalty? I guess that...
I had to guess. I'd say it's a penalty. I mean, we had all those scoring issues. Drivers probably weren't lined up right. And on top of that, it's so early to pit, and I don't think they can make it on fuel. Yeah, so I'm not sure what the strategy would be.
Yeah, there's probably about 6 of them in pit road right now. So I'm not sure what the most pit road penalties on iRacing are usually stop and goes. Usually speeding penalties are usually the only ones that you actually have to hold for. So those drivers did seem to hold. So again, we tried to get a post-race, a mid-race interview there, but unfortunately just weren't able to. Is technology not on our sides? And some of the retro technology is still within the systems here, but that outside lane did fizzle back, and the 51 did manage to get himself back to the lower groove and retain himself in the 4th position. That is Devin Medeiros in the number 20 machine. He is leading the outside now, and he does have the push from Matthew Long in the number 97 machine. You can see from the onboard camera right now.
Yeah, they're still trying to hold on to that outside line, but as more and more drivers go to the inside, it's just going to fizzle out. But yeah, there's probably 15 drivers right now in that first pack, and then if you go anywhere past maybe 17th, 18th, there's another pack of about 5 drivers, and then just little packs behind them.
Yeah, but in those little mini packs is who is that Kyle Busch machine that is absolutely destroyed? That's Alex Princeton. I think I talked about him as being right on the playoff cut line right now in terms of the playoff standing, so his efforts will not be helped by the performance here tonight. But Delaney kind of in that position Hoytsma was in the first part of the race, where he's just going to be clicking those laps off, as I said, padding the total, if you will. Hoytsma did lead 36 laps earlier in the race, so just over half, or just under half of what we've run, or close enough to have, did go to Hoytsma. But we'll see what does happen here with Delaney in charge, and I wouldn't expect pit stops till anywhere probably around lap 100 at the on average, I would estimate anyways.
And I noticed down the backstretch, Root was really bump drafting Delaney, trying to help push that car further and further. And I was going to say that outside line was still hanging in there, but at least one of those drivers ducked down to the inside. Only 3 on the outside at the moment. We've also got a lap car. I believe that's Tim Reel in 38th position, going to the outside, and those guys will probably blow right past him.
Yeah, we talked about him in McRae earlier, because we thought that they would have had a chance to get on the lead lap with some strategy. McRae has had something happen to him, because that pizza has a little I mean, give me an analogy for a damaged pizza. I don't have one, but some right front damage to that number 53. But due to the nature of the draft, he is able to hang in there to that position. We know, again, our 53 is the most famous driver in chat, so just giving the audience what they like with his updates.
Yeah, those three on the outside are still stabilizing. I am amazed, Corey. I figured when we've got, what, 15-plus drivers on that inside line, only 3 on the outside, and they really haven't lost any ground.
Yeah, switching our ticker to the lap time perspective rather than the intervals, and last time by, Long, who is the first car on that outside line, ran a 59.58, actually faster than your leader by 2/100ths of a second. Now, not fast enough to make a tangible difference in the efforts, but this shows that those two lines are essentially equal.
Well, I think if you go further back in that inside line, they're not pushing very hard, and that was letting those outside drivers keep pace.
Baker to the outside again. The 51 machine will switch lanes, try to get some momentum off the bumper of Long on that 97 machine. Now the 4 will be, rather the 51 will be alongside Medeiros, and the 20 machine, Dave Fuge in that 14. He is in that IWX machine. Where does he want to go? He thought about taking the momentum off the top. He will choose to stay on the bottom, and that is going to give Baker a shot to get close to the leader, as a lap car will be on the outside, get out of the way.
Something else we should take note of, too, in the midst of all that chaos under caution, those drivers in that first pack who were a lap down and pitted right before the pits closed, it worked out for them. They weren't passed by the leaders, and they should have gotten back on the lead lap.
Currently, right now, we have 30 drivers on the lead lap. Princeton is the last on the lead lap, but with that car in its state, he ran a 56-second lap last time. He will be a lap down, maybe within 10 seconds, because the leaders are not too far away from him. But we do have Jason Taylor. We've talked about him plenty tonight. He is the first off of the lead lap. Matthew Gaskins and 32nd. Gaskins had that pit incident. Remember, he got hit by Mouchet into the inside wall. So 30 drivers on the lead lap, as we are roughly 20 laps away from halfway in our Intimidator 500 here at the Talladega Superspeedway and 100% Cup Series. You're watching Corey Silva and Tyler Orn on the calls here. It was retro night, so if you did miss the first half of the broadcast, I do recommend checking it out, because we had some fun with some 90s retro music themes, all that fun stuff. But we're back to reality with our 2022 graphics package and enjoying some racing here at the Superspeedway.
Corey, I was going to say that outside line was really getting closer and closer to our leaders. They backed off a tad, but it's nice to see some side-by-side action here in the second stage.
Yes, it is. These guys, as we kind of talked about very early in the race, they have to figure out who has the pusher car, who has the car that needs to lead, who is good at pushing, who can get that outside lane running, who is a little bit wobbly, who do you not want to be with. Do you want to draft with similar makes, or do you want to draft with all these are the kind of the scouting report things you need to calculate in your head, and those single file conga lines don't teach you any of that. Practice can only teach you so much. You need to learn it in a race condition. So these little side-by-side endeavors can really help you when it comes to making those pivotal moves at the end of the race.
And the manufacturer, too, makes a difference when it comes to momentum and who's a better pusher versus a passer, because I think everybody agrees that the Fords, by the shape of their nose, are the best pushers out of the 3 manufacturers.
Yeah, that nice, whoa, a little bit of a checkup on that outside lane. That 78 kind of David Duke, I don't know what happened to him, if he just didn't have the momentum, but a little bit of a checkup there. Everyone did get by. Here comes the 31 machine to the outside lane right now. That's Brian Mabry.
It seems like as soon as that outside line really gets some momentum going, somebody wants to break out and make a third lane, and it loses all of its energy.
And that's what happens with this current model. Now, we saw it with Delaney and I cannot remember who it was that was working with Delaney there, forgive me. But we saw them get that outside lane going. It takes dedication, it takes knowledge, it takes a smooth, steady wheel, but you can do it. The old style of drafting on iRacing for years and years no longer works. You can't just up and jump in a line and have it go. It really takes a while to get that momentum built up and to get that, you know, everything going that you need to get those runs going.
Yeah, and I can tell that Root is pushing really hard on the inside. He's got that, I believe that's a Ford he's driving, and he's really pushing our leader Delaney very hard. Seems like that top four just a little bit separated from the second half of that inside line, and that's what's keeping him with that fast pace.
Yeah, it is, and you see Dustin Hall there at the tail end. Remember, he was our pit reporter last week. He took the week off at Bristol because he already does have a race win this season, so he took advantage of that to kind of take a free pass on a track he didn't like. And I did pull up on our on my preview screen here the onboard cameras, and of course, as soon as I say that, they stop doing it. But there was a lot of chatter going on at least a couple minutes ago. You could see John Delaney being very vocal there on his onboard camera. So obviously some team strategy, some advice, some planning going on by these teams, as we do have a little bit of 3 wide here at the end of this pack.
Well, and you've got Tim Reel, who is a lap down, kind of leading that outside pack right now, so he's trying really hard, and some other drivers are very indecisive on whether they want to go up or not. But right now, Tim and that Steve Park throwback is actually not a lead lap car at the moment.
Yeah, he's actually the first car 2 laps down now. It kind of puts you in a position where if you are the lead lap guys dealing with him, do you really, how do you feel about having a 2 lap guy in the shuffle? Of course, they have every right to do so, but you know, you want to get those spots. You don't want to have any more interference than possible. Oh!
97 is spinning. Caution's out.
Matthew Long with a spin there. I see a little bit of left rear damage. We'll go back on replay and see indeed what happened to him. We kind of saw it live, but we'll get a better perspective of it from his onboard cameras here. 70 machine to his inside. And that is just a plain situation of getting hooked, and he didn't hit anything. How about that?
That was amazing that he locked it down, and I thought for sure when he was coming up the track, some drivers were going to run straight into him. But actually, Corey, I think that Long came down and cut off.
Yeah.
He was right behind him, but that's the end result. Just didn't have the space.
Couple drivers there. We'll take a look one more time, because somebody absolutely threaded the needle there when he came back up the track by a razor's edge. We'll go from our chopper cam.
I think that was the 15.
Let's see here.
Giglio.
Yeah, Giglio, and I believe I saw the 70 machine had a really close endeavor there. So, but no harm, no foul. Made a little bit of left rear damage that 97 has, but that's all. After that whole endeavor to have a tiny bit of left rear damage only, you know, I'll take that, because he's still going to be out there and have a chance to go at it.
Well, hopefully this caution goes better than our last one, Corey, with these drivers. I think they're a bit more organized now behind the pace car.
Well, most importantly, we're on board here with Delaney. Do we see green lights insinuating a legal entry to pit road? And I don't.
Huh. Well, everybody's coming in on pit road, Corey, so maybe that's a mistake on iRacing's part with their graphics. I don't know, but I can't imagine the entire field would be coming in on pit road if it wasn't open.
Yeah, so the only thing I can think of is if indeed it is the case where there is a glitch. Maybe it's a replay glitch on our side. Who knows? But, you know, we're watching this as spectators and not as drivers. It's supposed to be the same, but you never know. But if there is a mass penalty, perhaps the admin will manually clear. It looks like the pit exit was open at the very least. So, not too sure what's going on, at least with that, but we'll see if anything does come of it. And I'm looking at all my different channels here that give me some inside information. And I don't see anything, so we're going to assume everything's good.
Or we had about 5 drivers, I believe, stay out, and I assume they're going to try and get the wave around here under caution, get their lap back.
We'll see, one thing, I tried doing it last time, but we have a little bit more time to play with now, so we'll see if indeed we can grab one of our camera drivers and have a chat with him. All right, we're going to grab, let's get him set up here on screen. We're going to grab John Delaney here and have a chat with him. Hey, John, it's Corey in the booth. You got us, man?
Yeah, I got you guys.
All right, so first off, we want to ask, because we saw a glitch, we thought it was a glitch. Has the pit road been closed, or is it just kind of a glitch from our side?
Pit road's been open the entire time. I know that first stage was a little bit of confusion because some guys had to pit because they ran out of fuel. So, yeah, there's no glitch.
All right, yeah, we've seen some red flags, red lights on our side, so we just wanted to make sure. But all in all, we saw the first stage was pretty much just single file the entire time. Looks like a little bit spicier here in the second stage. How's it going for you, and what kind of strategy do you have to survive and ultimately get a good finish for the end of it?
Yeah, pretty much just survive, try and keep track position. I was falling asleep there towards the first part of the first stage, so hopefully we can stay awake and kind of keep the heartbeat bumping. So it's not very fun just riding single file, in my opinion. I like to get a little side-by-side action and kind of really take notice of what lines are forming and whatnot. So the intensity is definitely going to increase as the race comes closer to an end. So and I think pitch strategy is also going to be really huge.
Yeah, we were calling it. It's almost intensely boring that these races can be, but it'll spice back up. You're on 1 to go. We'll let you get back to your room, man. Good luck for the rest of it. We'll be watching you.
Thank you, guys.
That is Delaney. Actually admitted he was slightly falling asleep behind the wheel. I don't know if we have any laws behind that. It's not like your local highway on your interstate where you have the little rumble strip on the side of the road. The rumble strip is getting in a wreck, but hopefully it's a little more exciting for him and he can, stay awake for the remainder of this race.
Yeah, well, again, we've had some more excitement here in the second stage. A lot of side-by-side for that lead pack, and then of course we just saw the first real caution of the night. So it's picking up, Corey, and again, we're approaching the halfway mark of this race, and as we know, when it gets closer to the checkered flag, drivers start making way more aggressive and desperate moves.
Now this drafting package does have every ability to go 3-4 wide, and Talladega Super Speedway, pretty much 3 wide at Talladega it's a cakewalk. Daytona 3 wide is a lot more of a risk just due to the nature of the track, but I don't know the exact statistics, but I want to say Talladega is almost a lane wider, 10 feet wider, so you can do that easily. You can squeeze 4 wide. Not necessarily the safest thing, but it is physically possible, so I think those moves will happen later on, but we just kind of have to chug through. I mean, there's a lot of talk going on social media about should NASCAR races be shorter. Some people say Talladega is a crown jewel and it should stay 500 miles. One could debate that. Maybe we will after this green flag flies. As again, Delaney to the inside, Hoytsman to the outside. They have led pretty much all of the laps led here today, minus a couple with pit strategy. But Delaney is going to be the lead car in charge with route to his rear bumper with the push. Hoytsma is going to have Devin Medeiros with the push. Waiting. And still waiting. And there we go. Green flag back in the air.
Much more even start that time with our top 2 drivers.
Yeah, except Hoytsma lost Medeiros. Medeiros fell back about 2 or 3 car lengths there. Here he comes. He got a little bit of a push from Ryan Ducom in that 99 machine. Remember, Ducom is another one of our drivers that we can be following throughout the course of the race. Him and his, looks like he's a Red Sox fan, which full marks because I'm a New England fan, so me and Ducom will get along just fine. But he's going to be giving that outside push, the help with Medeiros and Hoytsma leading it down in that Marlboro scheme, almost a kart scheme from the late 90s. Forgive me for not memorizing the drivers on that.
Fittipaldi had a Marlboro scheme maybe, but it's hard to remember that far back.
Yeah, 25 years back. Oh my god. But these guys, again, first run of the race, I think by the end of lap 1, Tyler, these guys were pretty much already down to the bottom of the track. So already some more effort is being put into that outside lane and staying a little bit racy here as Ducom getting a little bit squirrely behind the number 20 there. That outside lane is all over the place. That's not going to let him go. They're almost squeezing a 3 wide. I almost think that was incidental there. That was JC Gibson in the 09. Almost squeezed in a 3 wide as Ducom gets to the inside.
Yeah, they're zigzagging quite a bit there, especially in that outside lane, and that's not what you need when you're trying to keep the momentum and hold position like that. And, you know, further back, even more spread out.
All right, so this is as good a time as ever as we're going to do for the first time in quite some time here on PTR TV. We're going to crank it up. Here on the racetrack as we're doing our crank it up segment. We'll take a look at what happened. I think Tyler, you may have had a better look at that than I did while we were doing that segment. See who was involved.
Yeah, a few different things. Man, one driver I think got connected there going through turn number 2. I have to take another look at it, but I mean, it was pure chaos as soon as that took out a lot of cars. Oh, I think it was number 14. That is Dave Fugg Jr. had contact with the 09, which is JC Gibson, and then went straight into the 1 of Dustin Hall. Calamity from there.
All right. I think we got it queued up here on replay. We'll go to our spotter cam from what looks like on top of the roof. Oh, a little bit further up we got to go here. I think our ticker was in the way, so we'll go back a little bit. Again, sometimes we don't have 25 guys in the production truck for these replays, so it is a little bit of a work in progress, but we want to get you this best angle here. Again, as you said, I believe it was the 14 machine that was our biggest source there, if we will. All right, we got it on camera now. 14 machine goes up and moves up into the 19 machine. From our chopper, yeah, just kind of a little bit of a bumper tag there and a right-hand hook. And from there, it's all over the place.
And ironically, Fugg, who was one of the cars that started that initial incident, really didn't have much damage. Actually did a great job of keeping it fairly straight onto the grass, onto the apron. But man, everybody behind them, just pure disaster.
Yeah, and that's how it usually happens, is once one of them goes, usually everybody else gets through just fine. Well, once the person who causes it, a lot of time is the one who gets away easy. That's what I'm trying to say here. But regardless of such, it will bring out another caution on the day. And I don't know if I don't think we had any pit stops there.
Oh, we've got quite a few drivers coming in right now, Corey.
Outside of drivers for damage, rather the guys who stayed out. Looks like our top 12 stayed out because I think not much of a need for fuel or anything like that. But we'll see if any drivers are retiring from the race. We do have our infield care center here that we have access to, so if anybody pops in there, we'll have a quick chat with them. But our top 10, at least as of lap 88 of 188, just shy of halfway. John Delaney leading the race. RJ Root in second. Lucas Hoitzma in third. We have Chad Edwards in fourth. Ryan Samuelson in fifth. He started shotgun on the field, 40th spot. Now he's in the top 5. Bryson Hickabaugh in 6th, Jason Baker in 7th, Michael Christopher in 8th, Ryan Ducombe in 9th, and Blake Giglio rounding out your top 10.
I believe Matthew Long is the first driver who came out that actually came into the pit. So the driver under the Winston Cup format who would be in second place in points right now, 13th position so far in this race. I think he at least came in and got fuel.
And we'll see now. We'll see if we can grab another one of our drivers here. We're going to grab Ryan Ducombe if we can. I don't know if you want to have a quick word with him, Tyler. He's currently in the 9th position. I'll see if we can grab Ryan and have a chat with him.
Hey, Ryan, you got a copy?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, going well. How is it out there so far?
It's been pretty uneventful until just about that last caution, but made it through it, so good to go. Behind us a little bit.
Is there a particular strategy you have for the rest of this race? You know, just trying to ride around for quite a bit, or maybe try and make some aggressive moves just to figure out what you have towards the end?
I'm probably going to lay low till the last stage, till the end of the race, because I just got to keep it on the DL for a little bit.
Understand that. Any idea of going for a stage win, or just laying back for that as well?
I'm not going to risk it. If it comes, I'm going to take it, but I'm not going to fight for a stage win here.
All right. Well, good luck to you the rest of this race.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, so not too interested in the stage point. So that's again an interesting dynamic. Is some guys are ready for it, some guys aren't. We do have our may already be out of the race, Dustin Hall. He's in our infield care center right now. See if he wants to have a word. Maybe he'll hang up here with us. Who knows? Hey, Dustin, it's Corey. You got a copy?
Yeah, Corey, I got you, bud.
All right, so we talked to you all last week, but this week you're supposed to be driving, but unfortunately that one machine's in the pit. So what did you see there from your cockpit and ultimately getting into that wreck?
First of all, I guess I just missed you guys. Wanted to come hang out. I saw the 09 try and put it somewhere it didn't fit, and he just leaned against, I think it was the 14, and it sent him up the track, and 09 car corner pocket.
Yeah, and obviously, in terms of, I mean, obviously for those watching who are racers, you know how the damage system works, but for those aren't watching, iRacing kind of gives you a repair clock in the pits, how much damage you have. So what kind of damage are we looking at in that number 1 machine right now?
Started out, as soon as I got to my stall here, at 17 minutes of required damage plus 9 of optional,
So back to back. So obviously last week taking the mulligan with us. This week a wreck. Good thing you have that win in your back pocket. But I don't even know where we're at next week. Where are we at next week? Dover next week. Where are we?
Going to Dover. Yeah.
How are we looking for the Monster Mile?
I think we'll be pretty good there. Coke Series races there as well. So we'll be putting in a lot of laps, a lot of work for their race Tuesday. That will we'll be ready next Saturday.
All right, well, we'll check you out there at Dover. I mean, if you're bored, man, you have the experience. You were great with us in the booth. If you're bored, feel free to hang with us. If not, you can head back, but we're getting ready for a green flag.
All right, I'll let you cover it. Have fun.
All right, so obviously Dustin Hall, he's not in the greatest of spirits. He doesn't want to hang with us tonight. That's fine. He did a great job with us last week. Maybe we'll have him at another Mulligan race if that's what happens. But John Delaney got the jump there. But look at RJ Root with the run there from Hoytsma. Delaney got out way too far there. Got a huge gap, caused a run, but Root chose not to do anything with it.
Yeah, I noticed there when they got started, they were very spread out and disjointed. They're finally forming back up into an inside line. A couple of stragglers there on the outside, but that was probably the least organized start we've had so far this race.
Yeah, I think I would say the same, but ultimately ends to the same result as single file to the inside. That's Chad Edwards on the outside lane, that number 4 hefty machine. He is taking the push from Bryson Hicksonbaugh, that number 63 machine, along with the 31 of Brian Mabry. He's been up and down throughout the race as that number 4 machine takes an aggressive move to get to the inside lane. So they are pretty well dropping the top of the racetrack. As you could see from the long shot there, we do have a distant pack about 3 seconds back. Patrick Mouchet seems to be the leader of that charge in the number 46 machine, it appears. And that pack consists of mainly lap down cars. It does have Mouchet, the 65 of Anderson, Tim Rell is on the lead lap, Bryson Alexander, and the last car on the lead lap, Damaris Hickenbottom, league admin, but he is heavily damaged, so he will go a lap down pretty shortly. But if he can stay in the lead pack, that will obviously help his cause.
Quite a few wounded ducks out here after that latest incident we had, Corey. A lot of drivers already went to the garage and their day is done, and a few stragglers clearly off the pace farther back in the field.
All right, so before that, kind of at the tail end of that restart, Tyler, I brought up a very controversial topic in the NASCAR world these days, and while things have fizzled out, I think after that wreck, we do have an outside lane forming, but there's a big topic these days of whether NASCAR Cup Series races should be shorter. We have guys like Harvick saying that even the Coke 600 is a waste of time. You have guys saying no 500 miles. What is your take on that topic? What do you think here at Dega? Should this be a 500-mile race in real life?
Well, I think that most of the races should be shorter. I have very fond memories and thoughts of Talladega, so I hate to see it get lessened. But I think most of the other tracks, it should be 400 miles or less. I think the 600 should probably stay the same just out of tradition. You know, keep the Southern 500, the Daytona 500. But all the other tracks besides Talladega should be less. Or maybe we could even do one 400 and one 500 for Talladega. That I'd even be okay with.
I know the only problem that I have with even the 600 these days is where we have the memorial break. And again, I'm all for representing our nation and those who have fought for us, but that race used to be about driver endurance, mechanical endurance. In my opinion, it's just kind of a really long race now. So it's like I'm very indifferent towards that, as I much want to appreciate the tradition. But we almost have to be real with these plate races. I think every plate race could almost be like a dirt heat race. Maybe 10 laps heat, 10 laps heat, 25 lap feature, because I think the same action pretty much gets accomplished and it just condenses out the single file. But these guys must be listening to us because the single file has ceased as we have about 6-7 cars on that outside lane right now trying to get at it halfway.
Yeah, that outside lane is forming yet again. I do agree with you on the 600 as far as we really shouldn't have all the breaks and not to take away from the holiday, but it seems to go against the idea of what the 600 should be. But I understand. I don't think heat racing works particularly well at this level. But again, these drivers might be listening to us because they are really pushing hard trying to make that second lane work.
Yeah, I think it was especially back in the day. Remember, Charlotte only had lights since 1992. I think I saw the One Hot Night special when they came up with that idea for the Winston. The 600, though, used to be run about 11 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, broad daylight, late May heat. 600 miles in those 1987 S-style cars with no power steering and bouncing around on a bench seat. That used to be a man's race, and now we have these now computerized downforce machines with 3 brakes in the middle. But
you're right. And one thing that everybody forgets, sometimes people say, "Oh, the good old days weren't the good old days." When you look at even the 70s, the 80s, even into the 90s, and they'll say, "Oh, there was only 5 cars on the lead lap by the end of the race." Well, part of the reason why that happened is that the drivers were, first off, way more just physically and mentally exhausted than they are today. But even more so, the mechanical wear and the mechanical failures that we saw, the rate of attrition was just so high. You'd see a number of leaders just blow their engine or have other car problems, and that was a part of it. It really felt like an endurance race, and you just don't see that kind of attrition today.
You remember 2000 Cracker Barrel 500? Mike Skinner had that race in the bag, 19 laps to go. Boom, lost the race because of an engine. You don't see that very often anymore. Remember, we used to be tuning 9,500, 9,600 RPMs for 500 miles. So again, good old days. What should happen? I mean, that's conversation for the chat as well. We got a very large audience watching here on PTR TV, so again, feel free to have some conversation. We'll check it in the chat, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff if you haven't done so. But that outside lane really starting to chugga on up and make that locomotion go. 51 of Baker, he has been one of the committed drivers to that outside all race. Looks like him and Hicksonbaugh are definitely two that will not be afraid to make a move. A little bit of a wiggle there from the 20 of Medeiros to the inside, but no harm, no foul there. Looks like about 8 cars in that pack, and that inside lane not too coagulated well, for lack of a better word, might give the outside a chance.
They're slowly but surely inching closer and closer to the front. They just have to be very disciplined and stay together for it to work. But on the previous conversation, I can't go without mentioning Ryan Newman. Back in the Rocket Man days, I swear he sat on half the poles, won about, I don't know how many races, but he also had so many DNFs, just riding that chip, and the RPMs were so high, it was really feast or famine for him.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, they had you had the 2 ignition switches. You had the primary one, and then they would tell you, flip it to ignition 2, because the rev limiter was either off or it was much higher. So for those last 20 laps, you could essentially run at 200-300 revs more and get that little bit of extra speed out of it. Again, there's things you don't see in these new ages. So again, in chat, let all of us know, what are your old school memories? If you're an older NASCAR fan, maybe from the 80s, 90s, or even an early 2000s fan, what are your favorite memories?
Wrecked on the inside. That does not bring out a caution, but there is someone blown up on that inside wall. That is Rob Tracy, just stuck.
Yeah, literally stuck, and that is, in terms of iRacing, that is off of the track. So that is not going to constitute a yellow flag unless admin choose to manually throw one. He's cruising off of turn 2 down the back straightaway. That must have been a steering, a USB came unplugged on his wheel. That's really all I can justify. We'll go on board with Rob Tracy. He's cruising. He just turned left. Either he just decided, I'm done with this race and I'm going out in style, or there was a technical error with his wheel there.
Would have been something wrong on an equipment side. I've never seen someone just turn straight into the inside wall. Kind of reminds me, we were talking about, the Mark Martin incident that happened back in the day, a little bit like that. Or even Steve Park, where I think his wheel literally came off while he was driving, and he had that really bad wreck at Darlington and derailed his health and his career. But yeah, very strange. But luckily for the rest of our drivers, no caution because it was to the inside and off the racing groove.
Yeah, as we talk about Steve Park, I'm trying to remember who our Steve Park driver of the race was. We did have one of them in the field, and memory has there he is, number 33 machine. Actually, it's not the 33 machine. Trying to find where he's right at the top, at the back of this pack. I believe it's Tim Rell. I know we've talked about him quite a bit. He's the Steve Park machine. If there's one driver in the world who just never could have any luck to save his life, it would be Steve Park. He's had every bad break that you can ever have, I think, as a race car driver. Started in 1997. He had a bad wreck on pit road with Jeff Gordon at Atlanta. And then he had that issue at Darlington. He flipped at Pocono. And I can't, there was that issue at Darlington, if I didn't already say that, memory losing me, but so many rough crashes. And I think he actually is racing modifieds and lower tier short track stuff. He hasn't had any lifelong injuries that prohibit him from running, which is good news.
Yeah, he had so many health issues and just weird things happen to him throughout his career. I always remember, I remember his 2 wins, Watkins Glen. That was really impressive because he wasn't particularly known for his road racing skills. And, of course, the race after Dale died at Rockingham, that victory he had for DEI, and that was just such a great memory. And in spite of all that depression that was occurring in the community at the time. So Steve Park, he even had that comeback. I think he won a truck race back in the mid to late 2000s. So, but it is definitely kind of an Ernie Irvan type situation where you have to wonder, what would have happened if he didn't have all those injuries.
Yeah, I remember there was that stretch in 1998 too, where he actually gave up his old DW. Was driving that one machine for about 5 or 6 races and actually managed to have quite a few good runs. I think he actually had like a 6th place finish at Pocono towards the end of his career, which obviously didn't happen, so he didn't keep it. But back to the show at hand here. We're on lap 103. We're going to come up to our stage in a couple weeks. I don't know what my brain is talking about right now. Coming to our stage in about 15 laps.
Or he's talking about the good old days.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens at 16 laps. We do have somebody in our waiting room here, rather, in our infield care center. The number 78 machine of David Duke. He has been out of the race for about 20 laps, so let's have a quick chat with him. Hey, David, you got a copy, Corey, from PTR TV?
Hey, Corey.
All right, saw you down in the room there, and about 17 laps down, your race retired here tonight. What was the I think you might have been in that big one. What was the ultimate flaw that took you out of the race here tonight?
Yeah, there was a little bit of room between me and the 14, and I can't remember the number, but squeezed in there, and I got off the throttle and kind of onto the brake, but I had so much momentum it carried me into him, and then put him into the 14, and it pushed the 14 off, but then it, all heck broke loose there, and I got caught up into it.
Yeah, we saw this race kind of worked in a lot of different stages. The first stage essentially worked where just nobody tried, and it was just single file, just cruising, but the intensity has gone up. Ultimately, what was your strategy going into it? Obviously, you got ruined, but what was your strategy to kind of ride, or were you hoping to make some moves and just nobody really let it happen?
My strategy was to ride it first, and then I got a little free off of 2 there at about lap 33-ish. So I had to fall back to the second group, and thankfully, the way the pit cycle worked, I took a whole load of fuel there about lap 40, and that allowed me to only take about a half a load there at the stage break, so it got me some track position back. But we did find some speed on the outside, so I was okay to ride or kind of not necessarily be aggressive, but try to work my way up through on the outside, but just got caught up wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, that is indeed the case, my friend. But we head to the Monster Mile next week. We'll be here on PTR TV to cover you guys once more. So what are your thoughts there, and what do you think you have for them at the concrete? I think White Lightning they call it these days.
Yeah, I'm hopefully to be able to run it. I don't know, my radio synced back to a different channel thereafter. I took a tow to the pit road and said some unsightly things there. Thought I was talking to my team, but apparently I was not. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if my work schedule will allow me to run it, but I don't know if the admins will either.
Kyle Larson to lesser degree, I see there. But we'll see what happens with that, and if you're there, we'll cover you. But thanks for talking to us.
Yes, sir. Thanks for pulling me up. Y'all have a good night.
That's it. Well, that's why you always got to be careful about what you say on the radio, because you never know.
Yeah, definitely a hot mic situation there, and it's real easy to do. I can understand it, and also you're really frustrated. You have an incident like that, and you're fired up, and probably say some things you wouldn't say about 20 minutes later.
Yeah, so calmer heads will prevail, or some saying on the lines of that. But 12 laps to go in the stage. It's not going to take a couple weeks to get there. We'll get there in about 10 minutes time. But we have in this lead pack right now, we do have 15 drivers fighting for 10 stage opportunities. So we already see the guys shuffling around. There's Matt Long on that top of the track there. You can see he had that left rear damage from that spin that he had off the bumper of somebody, but looks like he is all well and repaired there. But we have to go back to we have Dave Fuge Jr. in the 14, just cruising by himself in an IWX machine. And then we go back 22 seconds to Jeff Hooper, next car in the lead lap in 17th. So I think that is pretty much where the damaged vehicles start. So seems like we have about 16, 17 guys who are still in good condition with their vehicles.
And I know right now, Corey, that first pack is fairly, single one line on the outside with a few, well, mostly on the inside, a few on the outside. But I think we're really in the eye of the storm. I think in about 5 laps, all hell is going to break loose. These guys going for stage points.
Yeah, we still really haven't seen 3 wide happen yet tonight. We've seen the 2 wide become a lot more prominent, but I think the 3 wide will happen in stage 3. It does take a lot more effort from the guys up front. Now, we do have a lot of teams in this series. Most of the teams, I think, are a maximum of 3 drivers, 3 drivers per team, I believe. So there's not going to be, 4 or 5. Like, there's a league I run in that you basically have 7 drivers on a team, and you can't do anything if you're not a part of it. So there's going to be a lot of coordination that does need to happen. You're going to have some guys willing to take a chance, some guys willing to drop their compadres. But we'll see what happens as the 10 laps to go in the stage. We do have Dalton Mobley, who's dropped off our camera, and we kind of have a little running gag here that whenever somebody drops out of the camera segment, we put a SpongeBob character in their place. So sorry, Dalton, you're going to have to be a Patrick for this. That's what happens when somebody drops out of the camera. I got to have something to fill the spot.
And Corey, I'm just sitting here thinking, I know there's caution laps at the end of the first stage, and we also had the big one that gave us a few more caution laps, but we haven't really seen a lot of these drivers come in the pits unless I missed something here. So either they're going to have to dive in right before the end of the stage and probably throw away their chance of getting the stage points, or they might just run out of gas. I'm not sure. Maybe they can make it. I don't know what their fuel mileage is at the moment, but some of these guys, people running out of gas at the end of the first stage.
That stint graphic is not working appropriately, at least what you guys get to visually see at home, but I can see from my back-end information that most of these drivers up front are on 31 lap fuel cells right now, 31 laps under since their last pit stop. So with another 8 laps, they'd be right at 40. We did have a caution, and so I do think they'll be right on that line of, they wouldn't be able to go about 5 more laps, but I think they should be able to make it to 40, 41 or so just fine. But we'll see if that's the case. We may see some of these guys up front pit with 2 to go, pit with 3 to go in the stage. They'll sacrifice the stage points, but they'll have that track position for the last segment if indeed they deem it to be necessary. So again, just another wild card to look out for in about 3 or 4 laps.
And we see some drivers, as the 45 on the outside getting lapped well off the pace. I keep waiting for that third line to break out, Corey. It just hasn't really happened yet.
Yeah, I think that's going to be, like I said, I think that's probably going to be a stage 3 move. But we'll see what happens. They're going to Root given that push. Root, what kind of helmet does he have there? These guys have some very interesting helmets. Looks like he actually has a face painted on his helmet. And we did actually see with Delaney, we'll go on the in-car cam with Delaney. We'll just kind of pan the camera over just a little bit. Oh, that doesn't show it too well, but he actually had a smiley face. Again, we're kind of really testing the waters out here. Oh, I can't zoom as well as I want to. But yeah, Delaney actually has a smiley face on his helmet, so Guys, these
always smiling when you're in the race, right?
Except he's not. I mean, what was it back in the day? Happy Harvick. He always had a smiley
he still
face.
has the happy face on his pit road. His little sign they put out. I think he still
there
got
we
the
go.
little happy emoji.
We can see it from this cam, the happy face camera from Delaney. That must be new, because I do not recall seeing that last week. But and based on his comments that he has week after week, I don't think Happy Harvick really exists anymore with everything that he has to say. But makes for more interesting nature for us. But look at that 57 machine on the outside, Tyler. Cameron Stone and the pseudo Jeff Gordon rainbow machine. It looks like he just left Bristol with that same car. But again, the beauty of the draft is maybe he can't lead the pack, but he can sure stay in line and take advantage of the draft.
Yeah, it's kind of funny seeing that Ford in a Jeff Gordon scheme.
Oh,
But,
I didn't even see that. That
no
ruins
judgment
it.
here. I'll drive the Ford Lumina on occasion on the 87s, but yeah, that front end is pretty smashed up. But like you say, as long as he's in the draft tucked in, he can hang with him. I don't know how great of a pusher he's going to be if he's getting really aggressive, because it's probably not helping his temps with that damage.
And that actually happened to Patrick Mouchet last week at Bristol. He was heavily damaged, but still running in the 4th spot. And over time, that engine just kind of gave up, said, nope, can't do it anymore. And ended up causing him to retire from the race in the last 20 or so laps. So and they don't usually give you a lot of warning. The gauges will be perfectly fine, but for some reason, the engine just says, nope, I'm good. Just ahead of our leaders now, we do have a little... thought it was this. We do have a little bit of a breakaway right in front of our leaders on the back straightaway, trying to see who they are. I believe.
Let's see, Brockman, Tim Reel, Randy Drumhammer, and Robert Anderson. I think they are on the tail end of the lead lap.
Let's see here. Ross Brockman, actually, he is being registered a lap down already, so this would be 2 laps down. And Tim Rell, again, he has been doing his damnedest all race. He's had so much TV time for a guy that's been on the tail end of the lead lap. But it's going to be very, very close for him. Patrick Mouchet is the next driver off of the lead lap. So if Tim Rell does get lapped, I think he will get the free pass. But this is going to be very interesting timing-wise, because these leaders are going to catch these slow cars, and we are coming to the end of the stage. So this will shuffle things up here. As we come to 3 laps to go in the stage. We'll see if anybody does peel off for the pits this time by.
Yeah, and with now that outside lane, there's only 4 cars, but still the drivers on the inside lane are going to have to make a decision of what they do. I assume those guys up ahead are probably going to go the outside, but there's no guarantee of it.
Yeah, you never know. Some guys will make you can Kevin LePage style, make the whole field go around you, or you can make it easy and just go high and get down to the inside of the racetrack. So we'll see indeed what does happen. Looks like they are going to make everybody go on the high side. They're going to make the whole field shuffle, and that will definitely make things interesting.
That really about halfway through that pack, it jumbled up and had those guys on the outside actually get linked up with the guys in the front. Meanwhile, the guys towards the back of that inside lane hung out to dry for at least a moment. That 4 car on the inside lane just was basically a pick for our leaders.
Got 3 wide as they continue the shuffle through. Long was in the middle of a shuffle there. 15 machine of Blake Giglio. Big wiggle there. He was getting a huge push, I believe, from Ducom in the number 99 machine, our onboard driver for the race. He was getting that huge push, but that push is ceased here as Ducom has lost quite a bunch of positions. They're going to try to get that outside lane formed here as we are with 2 laps to go in the stage. And Ducom with a power move to the inside. He is bailing on that outside at all costs right now. So we're going to come down to the end of stage 2, and doesn't look like these guys are too concerned about making something happen, Tyler.
Yeah, now we see some drivers trying to make that outside lane work again, but there's just no momentum for it. As long as those first, 6 or 7 drivers, I think, stay bunched up towards that yellow line, it's going to be very difficult for any energy to come towards the back.
Let's see the bump draft here. We're from the right on that rear bumper cam. On board with the leader to RJ Root in second place. coming to what should be the white flag for the stage. Outside with Hicksonbaugh again. Hicksonbaugh has been one of those guys. He is not going to be denied with an effort on that outside lane. Long is trying to make something happen too. Here we go with Hoytsma to the outside. Hoytsma has a push from the 70th Christopher.
It's getting really spicy now, going into 3.
Hoytsma had
Great battle.
Hoytsma. Oh
no, we got contact. Wow.
And there they go.
Now they wreck. There's the caution. For a second, I thought they were going to save it.
Yeah, it turned into a little bit of bumper tag there, and ultimately the stage points cost a lot of drivers the end of their race. We'll try to go back and see it on our replay. We'll just do it strictly from our chopper cam here. You can see the 4 machine of Edwards. He was given the push to Michael Christopher. The 81 got pushed to the inside, and then just a bunch of chain reactions there. We'll try to go back one more time and maybe get it a little bit slower so we can watch it a little bit more detailed. All right, so here we are. We are watching it from our blimp. We're focused on the number 4, but we're gonna go back a little bit. 4 machine into the back of the 70, down into the 81, 63 hits the 4, and then the 20 into the 65, and that just essentially wadded the field up there. And look at Cameron Stone. He thought he had it cleared, and then last second, boom. No confetti there for him. So terrible chain of events, but Delaney did get our stage there.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a disaster trying to figure out the scoring for the rest of the stage points, but a lot of drivers collected in that. I'm not sure, some of these guys may not have that much damage. We'll just have to see, let them get on pit road, assess the situation. And again, we've seen this already, that drivers can have some pretty severe looking damage and still hang in the draft.
Yes, we have. So these guys coming to pit road right now. I do want to grab from the infield care center our league admin, Damaris Hickenbottom, who is out of the race right now. So we'll grab him. Hey, Damaris, it's Corey. You got me, man?
Sir, I do.
All right. So we saw you in the beginning of the race. You were kind of separate from the draft, but all in all, it started off as a very clean race, and it looks like these stages are getting guys riled up there. We had a big one. So what was it like out of the 00 windshield tonight?
Whew, man, it was like looking at a tornado coming at you. Big old F5. Yeah, it started off clean enough. We got separated, but we just rode around, playing as smart as you tend to do on these plate tracks. And then it started stage 2. I guess somebody was anxious to get up the top line, get to the bottom. I have no clue why they would need to do that, but that's what I got caught up in. And of course, the horsepower and all that was going on, about 5 minutes optional. Came back out there, and the pack was coming by me again, and doggone, Corey, they didn't get me caught up in that one. So I've been DQ'd on incident points. So we're going to go back to the hauler and watch the rest of this one.
All right, so unfortunately you get to watch the 2022 side of it. The retro part of it is over. We had some fun with that earlier on, but sorry that you are out of the race, and we'll catch you at the Monster Mile next week.
Yes, sir.
So that is our league admin, Damaris Hickenbottom, out of the race. So what we are going to do here is catch our breaths here, grab ourselves a drink, and relax for a minute. We're going to go side by side. We'll be back with you in a moment. Please stay with us.
And we're back here at Talladega. An exciting first 2 stages and getting ready to start the third. As the pace car is pulling off onto the apron. You can tell the intensity has been building, Corey, throughout the first 2 stages, and I expect that this third and last one is going to be the most thrilling.
Yeah, certainly the case. We saw the first couple stages. Well, the first stage was a little bit of a snoozer, but the intensity is picking up, and now we are with about 64 laps to go. This is going to be the run to the checkers, to the end of the Intimidator 500 here at Talladega. Green flag is in the air. RJ Root and Delaney on the front row yet again, and I think a little bit of compadre work there. Delaney got right to the inside lane and retakes the lead as they single out, at least for the top 5 spots.
Yeah, I think Root backed off a little bit there. Let Delaney just pull down right in front of him. And I tell you, Root has been very committed to just pushing and staying. Well, Root's been very committed to staying right behind Delaney. And, I mean, so far it's worked. But I just wonder how much that loyalty is going to last as we get to the end of this final stage and the checker flag is in the air.
Yeah, we'll indeed see how well that does happen. But we'll just check up on our onboard drivers so far. Remember, we had a couple drivers on live with us. Unfortunately, Dalton Mobley in the 77. He is gone. Other drivers we did have. Kyle Ammon, I don't think we've checked up on him too much lately. He's in the 25th position in that number 5 machine. Still looks like that machine is in fair. Well, actually, he doesn't have a rear bumper, so I'll take that thought back before I get too far with it. Other drivers that we do have, we have John Delaney, as we've seen him multiple times, and then what about Ryan Ducombe? Looks like Ryan Ducombe is currently in the 18th position. There's Ryan in that number 15 machine, trying to make that outside work, but a little bit of damage to his machine as they try to split a lap car.
And Corey, right now, our top 6 drivers have just blown away the rest of the field. Those 6, the last one, Brian Mabry in the 31, he was laying back a little bit, but he's staying with that lead pack. And in quite a big gap until you get to 7th place, that's Chad Sander in the 59. And he's got about 10 or so cars mixing up with him. And then I think everybody behind him is pretty much a wounded duck.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll switch our ticker over. Right now it's showing our gap to the leader, but we'll show lap times, and just it's quite evident by looking at this, Tyler. That lead pack is pretty much at a 49.7. That second pack led by Chad Sanner, I think where the damage begins, those guys are at a 50.8, so about 1.2 seconds slower is that second pack compared to our leaders right now. So even though they have more cars, it's mainly a damage situation at this point, I believe, that's slowing that lap times down. We'll see what it updates to this time by. Again, about a 50.8 up front to a 49.8 up front rather, to a 50.4 for the second pack, so about 7/10 that time by.
Yeah, there has to be a lot of damage in that second pack because this is really the time of the race where you'd want to try and at least keep decent pace with the front pack. I mean, you never know, what can happen in a race like this, but I would be very alarmed if I was in that second pack, just because of I mean, again, we're 3-4 laps in since the restart, and it's very unusual to see that few of drivers just pull out ahead of a pack like that with probably at least double the amount of drivers in the first pack.
But the problem that this does cause, if I'm to call it a problem, is if there's only 6 guys that actually have cars that are competitive enough to stay in the pack, then that's going to make it significantly harder for these guys to make moves, because there's not going to be a lot of cars to shift the momentum, which is definitely going to hurt any outside cause, any outside lane in that top 6 pack.
You're 100% correct, Corey. That's really going to hurt the energy from anyone trying to come from the back of, again, it's hard to say the back of a pack, but I mean, it's only 6 drivers. I mean, maybe they're thinking about fuel strategy. We've got quite a bit of time here in this third and last stage for drivers. I think they're going to have to pit at least once, but I don't know. These guys could also get real antsy in the last few laps and wreck. It's just hard to tell. So many uncertainties, and in a race at Talladega, but I mean, they are just really lap after lap just gapping that second pack more and more.
Yeah, again, that 7/8 of a second gap that, you know, in lap times, just adding to the intervals, about 5.5 seconds back to Fujin, that 14 machine. But do all the attrition. We do have, I believe it to be about 28 drivers still turning laps right now, of which 20 of them are on the lead lap. Matt Long and that 97 being the last one on the lead lap. So, and Talladega starting to rear its ugly head in terms of attrition. But next week, we'll see what happens next week, as we will be here for one more week here on PTR TV. We will be covering the Dover race next week, the Dover 400, and then we will be, at least on PTR TV, on a little bit of a hiatus with broadcasting for a little bit. I'll actually be in the booth on the 3-wide side of things, but you'll want to tune into 3-wide TV for the majority of the summer schedule. I know we do have a couple sprinkled in. You know, Evan will be with me next week. Tyler, I think you're going to be with me sometime in July. I think Indy Road Course used to spike your attention or something like that. But
that's the one we're going to do. Got to make sure the schedules match up. You know, me with my busy social calendar, Corey. But yeah, I'd love to be back in the booth for you for that one. I really love this series already, my first race. And I tell you, this is a very high quality series. A lot of high I-rated drivers. I know Nick Ottinger races in this series from time to time as well. Just a lot of talent and a lot of support too. A lot of people watching. It's really exciting to be a part of this.
Yeah, that's certainly the case, because this is, again, this is an open setup series. So this is similar to your NASCAR iRacing series race that you'll see on official iRacing, where they do have the open and fixed variants. Obviously, the fixed NASCAR iRacing series races are kind of a just, you know, absolute demolition derby. So the open races tend to be a little bit smoother, but a lot of guys do like these full distance races, and iRacing does offer them a couple times a year with the Coke 600, Daytona 500, I think the Southern 500, maybe the Bristol night race, but only 4 races a year at full length distance. So these guys decided, hey, we want more of it, so, you know, let's just do it ourselves. And they ended up getting a significant group of guys that A, are willing to run it on Saturday nights, and B, you know, have the time and the desire to make setups and run these 3-4 hour long races. And there are some DNQs that qualify on Friday nights, and there's a lot of DNQs on certain weeks where people are not making the field. So definitely Kevin Steele, league admin, he's in the number 24 machine. I think he's still chugging out there. Yep, he's in the 8th spot, so he's in that number 24 Sunoco machine. Kudos to him, as well as Damaris Hickenbottom in that 00 machine. There may be another that I don't know, but they are the two head honchos, if you will, in the series that put all this together.
Yeah, no, it really is a great league to be a part of, and I've run some full distance races, Corey, not on a regular basis, but it is a lot of work. It's mentally exhausting, and also with it being an open series, I know a lot of these drivers spend hours throughout the week, you know, trying out different setups and just practicing, you know, just trying to see what works like you would in real life. So a lot of dedication by these drivers.
Yes, it is indeed. So again, we do have a lot of guys watching here in chat, in our YouTube live audience. So you'll probably want to go back if you did miss the beginning of the stream. Go check back our retro coverage. We did have a lot of fun with some graphic packages, and we brought back BP with Thunder Motion. I know, Larry, you were going to do a Larry's World to mock the Wallace World segment, but maybe that'll be for another race. But again, those old school memories and such of and if you watch the nobody ever watches this, but our countdown timer, our introduction segment to the race, I actually had an 8-bit, you know, Nintendo style rendition of Metallica Fuel back on the NASCAR on TNT days. So
a lot of fun, Corey. I always love, you know me, I'm a big retro guy when it comes to auto racing in particular. So I'm glad we just teamed up for this one, and we even had a lot of throwback schemes tonight on the track, which has been fun to see. A lot of them also don't look very good with all the damage and all the attrition that's happened. But hey, they look very nice and clean at the start. I got to tell you, I don't have any numbers in front of me, Corey, right now, but I think it's possible that lead pack can actually come around and possibly lap the second pack at the pace they are at. We're already at lap 135, 188 laps in this race total. If we don't get a caution, they could literally catch up to that second pack.
Oh, you're going to make me bust out the calculator, aren't you? You're going to make me bust out a calculator on a Saturday night, 2/3 of the way into a race pushing 11 o'clock Eastern. But let's figure this out, shall we? Well, Larry Mack's in the booth he's on the what's it called? On the pit box this week, so we'll pull out some Larry Mack for us right now. So they are running last time by. I'll pull up our ticker. Leaders at a 50 flat. Second pack at a 51 to 1.2 seconds. It's a 50 seconds around here. They are currently about 10 seconds behind. So if you lose a second a lap and you need to lose 40 more seconds, that would be 40 more laps, and we have more than 40 laps to go. So in theory, you are absolutely correct. And I want a prize because I did all that by myself.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. Math was never my strong suit growing up, so I like the strategy, but sometimes the numbers aren't. I'm just looking out. I've got the spectator camera, so to speak, from my vantage point, and I mean I can't even see that second pack on my camera whenever I'm looking at
right
leaders.
now
So,
at the stripe for your leaders and entering the tri-oval. So easiest way to do it. So right now the leaders are on the, we'll kind of cue on the backstretch. Leaders are on the backstretch right now, Alabama gang. Now we're waiting for that second pack to get to that Alabama gang backstretch logo. There it is. So that was a significant amount of time that elapsed. So 11 seconds. We kind of lose perspective of how close, like up front right now, you see a quarter of a second, half a second. We lose perspective in racing at these speeds of how much distance, and again, we're not going to get too into the math, but distance over time, all that fun stuff, we lose perspective of how far, these times actually are. 11 seconds at a 2.5 mile racetrack is almost a mile, or 3/4 of a mile in terms of distance. All right.
This reminds me of almost like an old school race, from the 70s or the 80s here, Corey, because you'd have guys strung out all across the track and, little packs here and there. There's always been drafting, but there's just a lot of cars way off the pace, and it's a very unique race tonight.
So we're gonna go back because I actually have. All right, so we're going back retro. So I actually have a VHS tape. So I mean, is that enough to age the story? There's a VHS tape I have. It's called the Winston Million, and it dates all the drivers who actually had a chance to win the Winston Million. Now, first off, Todd, do you even know what the Winston Million is?
Yeah, I know what the Winston Million is. $1 million bill.
Yep. So his
year.
So he had, was it in 1985? I believe it was.
1985, the first year they had it.
So he came back at Talladega from 2 laps down on track on pure speed and won the race with no caution. And that was back in the pre-restrictor plate era where you're running, at the time probably about 205, 208. He gained 2 laps the hard way after an oil leak and won the race without a caution. So those are the kind of, that's I think what it kind of feels like right now to a lesser degree.
Yeah, absolutely insane back then. No lucky dog, nothing. Like just pure speed and desire by Bill Elliott and that team. I mean, they were the king of the super speedways back in the 80s. It was really crazy to see. He won a few Daytona 500s. He was always a threat on any of the bigger tracks, and that's where they put a lot of their emphasis in their program as well. But yeah, it's just bringing me back. I know it's a retro night and I'm getting all nostalgic all of a sudden, but this really feels like an old school race.
Yeah. So, and for those who don't know, so back in the day, so the Winston Million was from 1985 until 1997, where there was 4 crown jewel races: the Daytona 500, the the Die Hard 500 or Sears 5, whatever they called this race back in the day, Talladega, the Coke 600, and the Southern 500. If a driver won 3 out of the 4, you got a $1 million prize. If you won 2 out of the 4, you got a $100,000 consolation. Bill Elliott won it in year 1, so the Winston guys were freaking out, like, oh wow, we're gonna have to pay this out a lot. But the only other one that ever did it was Jeff Gordon in 1997, and a classic finish in the 1997 Southern 500. And then after that, we transitioned it to the Noble 5 bonus, where if you finished in the top 5 at a select track, you would be eligible at the next select track to win the $1 million bonus if you won that race. Dale Earnhardt did it here in his final win. Jeff Gordon did it a bunch of times. Jeff Burton did it a bunch at Las Vegas. But they don't do anything like that anymore. Probably either because sponsorship or just people are cheap or whatever, but we don't have any of those fun little gimmicks anymore.
The closest thing we have today is the Dash for Cash in the Xfinity Series, where A.J. Allmendinger picked that up today, and I think he won $100,000 based off of the previous Dash for Cash race. I think it's similar in format to the No Bull, but yeah, I remember too, they'd have all the fake money, that they would
spray behind the Brinks truck.
Yeah, and it was wild. I mean, in both variations. Obviously, the original format that only Bill and Jeff won was a lot more difficult, but I mean, it was just very impressive to win either of those, awards.
Yeah, I think the video I have on you, it's actually on YouTube. It's called Jeff Gordon $1 Million Date. If you ever get 50 minutes on your hands and just trying to kill, it's actually a good video to watch, but just takes you back to 1997 quality videos. As Cameron Stone, we talked about him a little bit earlier. He was involved in one of those Rex Cesuto DuPont Mustang, which just irks me to say that, but I appreciate the scheme. But you got to change the manufacturer for the race. But he's 3 laps down as he suffices to our leaders. Up front, we have Delaney, Root, Hoytsma, Christopher, Baker, and Mabry. It's been a long night, folks. That is our first pack. Dave Fuge Jr. leading Kevin Steele, Medeiros, Sanner, Gaskins, Giglio, Samuelson, Souza. Who else have we got in this pack? And Damian Acerenza, last one in this pack. That is now 15 seconds behind your leader. Remember a couple laps ago it was 10, so I guess the $1 million question for the sake of that is, will they actually go a lap down before the end of the race? Well, we got 44 laps to find out, and we're about halfway through our fuel stint. So I'd expect pit stops in the realm of high 150s, low 160s, I'd expect.
And Corey, I'd be curious too if those top 5 or 6 drivers, if they will pit together, that would make the most sense for them. Keep the gap on that second pack and let them all duke it out. But you don't know what the coordination is with all the different teams and drivers, what they're trying to do. That can really mix this up, especially if that second pack is split, trying to come in and get even more broke up. So let that first pack just advance further.
Leader is closing in on a pack right now, on board with Delaney here. So passing some guys to the inside, but that pack is going to stay right on the bottom of the track. So this is going to cause a little bit of a shuffle for these guys. Root's going to go right to the middle to help out with Delaney. But that is Rell, that is McRae, and a couple other drivers that I couldn't quite make out there very quickly. But whoa, Rell nearly made contact with, I believe that was the 4 machine. Oh, actually it was not the 4 machine, but nearly made contact. Mouchet and Long going a lap down now, so definitely some slaloming going on by the leaders through this lap traffic.
Yeah, it's treacherous out there, Corey. I mean, those guys are way off the pace, and normally you would go to the outside if you were the lap car, and there's no rule that I'm aware of in this league that they do that, but you think you'd let the lead cars stay towards the bottom, but maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah, on board again, just checking out our other drivers here that we do have live with us. And Kyle Ammon, he is currently 2 laps down in 22nd position in that number 5 machine. So again, the attrition is definitely taking over on the evening. And then our last driver that we do have with us today is Ryan Ducombe, who is running in 17th. And if anybody is bored, it's probably him right now, because he is just driving with Jeff Hooper in that number 36 machine. Just the two of them in damage machines hanging on the lead lap, but they're only 5 seconds, well, much less than that at this point. Leaders hot on their tail.
Yeah, it's no fun when you're just riding around out there and you've got a damaged car, just don't have the speed to keep up. It's not a good feeling to have.
Yeah, they're just staying high and out of the way. Again, Ducombe started 4th today, and here they come. Again, in terms of speed difference right now, the difference is about 7 miles an hour between those guys. As here they come to the inside. Your leaders just going to chug on by, and nothing you can do about it except go off of the lead lap. So it'll be a little pseudo battle for the lucky dog between Hooper and Ducombe if they do choose to do that.
Corey, I'm a bit surprised. I really figured even with a little bit of damage, these guys could hang in there, but it just seems like if you have much damage on your car and you're not in the middle of a big pack, you just can't keep pace. I remember that one year Junior won with his whole front end taped up at Talladega, but not the case today.
That was the race. Again, we're going as retro as we can, folks. So if you guys got any memories, let us know in chat. But that was the race that Dale Jr. made that very, very controversial move on the apron in turn 3. But because it's Junior at Talladega, they let it slide. Ended up getting that victory with that, destroyed and remolded left front fender.
Corey, he was forced, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, we will gracefully have different opinions of such. I was a Gordon fan in that era, so 2004 was enough for redemption for me with that whole burnout beer can situation. But
that was a fun era right there. Those early 2000s races, Gordon, DI, like it was just brings back some good memories, that's for sure.
Yeah, the only time Michael Waltrip had any form of success in his life was at a plate track in the early 2000s.
Hold on now, let's give him some credit. He won the Winston back in '96.
Yeah, back in the Sicko ride. I mean, he did. What was it? 2001. Obviously, he won the tragic Daytona 500, and then he came in second, almost voluntarily came in second at the Pepsi 400. And then he won, I think he won 2 here at Talladega, once in 02, and then he won in 03, and then he obviously won the 03 Daytona 500. I really fail to remember a good run he had at a standard track in that 15 car. I think he had one at Homestead maybe, but he really did not do that much, and that was his... But it makes you wonder, what would Mikey have done? How would he have done if Dale had survived that wreck? I mean, there's questions we'll never have an answer to, obviously.
Yeah, well, DEI just slowly but surely started to fade away for, I think, various reasons as the 2000s wore on. Now, Michael did have 11, well, what I call Busch Series wins, but so I think a few of them, Dover, of all places where we're going at next week, fun fact, was his first Busch Series or now Xfinity Series win back in '88. And his last win was at Nashville in 04. So
yeah, that was when he drove the Aaron's ride in that Busch Series for a long time. I remember that quite vividly.
He even drove for, I think, for Dale a little bit. Had that Goodrich number 3 back in the early 90s at that level as well.
And what was one of Waltrip's other big moments in his life? It was when almost literally his car splitting in half at Bristol in 1990, hitting the turn 2 gate that was in the fence, and his car literally split in half, and he just walked out of the car, almost similar to what Mike Harmon did in 2002 at Bristol. That was one of the biggest things Michael Waltrip's known for, and wasn't quite for a good reason.
I think Darrell thought he was dead, just about.
Yeah, I mean, the famous quote is, he's got a hard head because he's a Waltrip, so...
Yeah.
But we're closing in here, lap 151, so, I mean, surprisingly enough, it is 37 laps to go in the race. So this is when, at least after pit stops, this is when it is going to, heat up as much as it realistically can. Remember, we only have 6 drivers in this lead pack right now. Delaney, Root, Hoytsma, Christopher, Baker, and Mabry. So... we do have the number 4 machine at Chad Edwards, who's... Actually, it's not... Why do I keep saying the number 4 machine? There's somebody in the mid-pack middle of that pack that I don't think is on the lead lap, at least for my telemetry. No, it is. It's Jason Baker. My telemetry is just being weird. But here they come on pit road. Whoa! Christopher misses the pits. He hangs on to the vehicle, but he missed the cone there. And that's going to be detrimental to the end of this race and take away somebody who is going to compete for this win.
Yep. Not what you want to see. We talked about how important it is and treacherous getting on pit road. You want to make sure you stay with the pack too, so you want to be as aggressive and fast as possible. But sometimes you just push a little too hard. That's what happened in that situation.
Yeah, I originally thought that he just overcooked it, but the more I see it, the more I just think, well, actually, let's just get it from our chopper cam right here. He's right behind Hoytsma, gave him a little push. Now, is Hoytsma gonna, did he make the pit speed there, is gonna be a very big question. I don't think Hoytsma would have made the pit speed limit there.
And we'll find out very soon if he has to come back in.
Because he got a push as Christopher makes it down pit road this time, but he gave a big shot to the back of Hoytsma there, which would have made it a lot harder for Hoytsma to get down and slowed there at the line. But we'll be able to see from the pit stop time here if indeed it was possible, and his pit stop time was 52 seconds, so that would certainly lead to a pit speed penalty there. So Christopher with that missed pit road entry, and then kind of shoving the 07 into a pit road speeding penalty, takes our lead pack down to what will be 4 drivers.
And right now, Dave Fugg Jr., the number 14 car, is your leader for the moment. And what was the second pack is now the first. We've only got about 5 drivers right now, so can't be making that much time.
Top 7 have stayed out right now. It's Fuge, Steele, Medeiros, Sanner, Gaskins, Acerenza, and Giglio. Only drivers that I can see, at least up on the front side of the field, that have yet to pit. And they are on lap 34 of their stint. So realistically, they have another 7 to 10 laps of fuel left. So whether they wait for a caution or not, I don't know if it'll really do anything if they wait for a caution, but I suppose you could. Just for the sake of it, maybe that's the strategy.
Yeah, normally I would say you'd want to stay out as long as possible, but I mean, they never even lapped the original leaders, right? This track's so big, and they had such a huge gap in front of them, you know, when the leaders came in, that I don't know what advantage there is of not. Oh, caution is out.
Well, just as I say that, just as we say that, let's try to figure out where it came from. I don't see anything eminent. I don't know if you see anything, Tyler, but
I'm looking throughout the field. I don't know what caused that caution.
Yeah, because typically, I mean, I don't get direct information here, but typically I'm able to find out just via, you know, slow cars being registered. But nothing is showing up on any of my telemetry right here, so it might be long. It's the only long and rel, but that's really all that will take a quick look.
I mean, I think Rail went into the pits.
Those are the only, I kind of have a little bit of a cheat sheet as things that may have instigated something, but worst case, we're just going to call it phantom debris, I suppose.
Yeah. You know, it's an automated system, Corey. So every once in a while, I mean, this is a game, and, you know, you'll get a weird glitch, or iRacing does something weird with the cautions.
Yeah, we have our driver in chat saying competition caution. I mean, it did happen last week at Bristol, where I know on the dirt, it does make a lot more difficult, the situation of, because cautions can come out. As you can see there, again, the pit entry is red. So there's a lot of funky things tonight that we can't figure out. So from our perspective here as broadcasters, from what we can see, which is supposed to be the same thing the drivers see, we see a red pit entry light, which would indicate you should be getting an end-of-line penalty for pitting this time by. So whether that has happened, I mean, again, it's still up to interpretation, but these guys are pitting, these guys are exiting, and what we will wait for is if any of these drivers will be peeling off and letting other drivers get past them. But again, interesting affairs here at Talladega tonight.
Yeah, I think in all that chaos, those drivers did come in, because now we've got Root in first position and Delaney in second. Jason Baker in third. Jeffrey Souza in fourth. And I think Michael Christopher in fifth. They're still, I think, trying to figure out where they're going to be positioned under caution. But talk about all the weird things happening tonight, Corey. They claim that there is a Talladega curse. A lot of strange things have occurred throughout the history of Talladega. You know, people getting killed in the parking lot and all kinds of just odd things, like it's a full moon every night, every time you show up to this track. But maybe that carries over into iRacing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I know the stories I can hear out of this place are odd in the infield and the craziness that the partying that occurs here in the Talladega infield, but I do know there was a track that they said was built on like a cemetery or something. Maybe it was here, but
Indian burial ground is what this was actually built on, and that's why they claim that it's cursed.
I do know that. So this is Talladega was actually, and we'll just make a little backstory here. It was actually built on what was called the defunct Anniston Air Force Base. Which is why you kind of see the little runways in the middle, because this used to actually be an Air Force base, but there still is I believe, an active runway outside of the racetrack. But fun fact, Talladega was initially supposed to be built in South Carolina. That's where Bill France Jr. wanted this track to be built, but due to the blue laws situation, not being able to, sell alcohol on Sundays and such, he wasn't going to hold it there. So he's like, well, I need to pick a different area. So he actually chose to build the track here in Alabama. So if you live in South Carolina, you could have had a Talladega Super Speedway, or whatever town it would have been built in. You could have had it right in your back door, but not the case.
I think they should have built it at Ona, if you ask me, Corey. But hey, nonetheless, we've got Talladega today. Still one of my favorite tracks, and I was just looking up here. They actually made a movie about 12 years ago called The Legend of Talladega, about the Talladega jinx. So I guess there is some truth maybe to the curse. I don't know. But yeah, it's just amazing how one little thing can change the course of history, and could have had Talladega be in South Carolina instead.
Of course, how do you talk about Talladega without Talladega Nights, the Will Ferrell movie? There's the Eric Church song on Talladega, so
very iconic. It's one of those tracks that even casual racing fans or people who don't really follow racing know of it.
Yes, they do. It's just one of those facilities, as the walls say, in every place except but turn 2, because iRacing forgot to put it there. This is Talladega. It's just a famous track in the world, and 2.66 miles. It was the fastest track in the world. I don't know if it is anymore. I think Michigan used to be maybe the fastest track statistically, but Talladega, 212 mile an hour. But actually, Rusty Wallace, famous little fact, he held a test for Nextel in 2004 because they wanted to test how good Nextel works at high speeds. He actually took us 2004 Miller number 2 machine, 228 mile an hour laps at Talladega unrestricted to test it out. He said it was fun, but no way in hell could you ever race like that. So all you guys say take the plates off and just run them full song. A driver said absolutely not. So, but little fun fact as well.
Yep, you can race the COTs unrestricted on iRacing, and it's fun, but would not be realistic to have today. And as we're getting ready to go green, just one little fun note. I went on a date one time, and I was telling the girl about Talladega, and she said, well, isn't that just from the movie? She thought it was a fiction.
Oh.
And I'm like, no, it's real. It exists.
Yeah, it is not a Lightning McQueen It is not a Lightning McQueen movie. It is actually a real track, and we obviously have the virtual version. But we're 30 laps to go. Pit stop, besides for damage, should be over. So we'll see what does happen as the green flag is in the air, and Root is going to get that restart by a significant margin over Delaney. Now that we're coming to the end of the race, we'll see if everybody chooses to play nice or if Delaney tries to take a shot at him and regain the lead.
Yeah, I mean, just deja vu all over again. The same thing happened, I think, the last few restarts. But I'm curious, we had that first 5 or 6 drivers break away very quickly at the start of the last restart. And I'm just wondering if that's going to stay the same, or if these drivers are going to be able to stay bunched together and not let them get too far out ahead.
Yeah, we'll see. Because it was around 7th, 8th place that happened. And one thing I believe that we didn't cover, that caution was a huge break for the 70 of Michael Christopher. Remember, he missed the pits, but because he already made that stop, he didn't need to pit under that caution. Ended up putting him up to the 3rd spot. So, but essentially, no harm, no foul on that move for Christopher. Actually, he's in the 9th spot now as scoring chooses to now update for me. But again, we'll see if that pack does indeed separate. The beauty of Talladega is that you basically have 2-minute lap time. So if you do have damage, you can get a fair chunk of it repaired under these long caution laps.
And so far, with that inside line, they're getting a little bit spaced out, but they're trying to hold strong, not let those guys get too far ahead.
Now we'll see how this race does end, because Tyler, I've seen so many times in the real world that we'll actually see fantastic racing all throughout the race, start to finish, start to 80% through the race. They're 2-3 wide, they're battling, and then for some reason towards the end of the race, everybody gets afraid and nobody does anything. You don't want to take the risky move and lose spots, so instead of making the moves, you just stay put. Now, I hope that doesn't happen, but we also didn't expect the first stage to work out the way it did either, so we'll see indeed what these guys do choose to do for these last 27 or so laps.
I think it's similar to what we talked about at the end of stage 2. It's the eye before the storm. Those guys were pretty content just riding around, and then we got to the last couple laps at the end of the stage, and all hell seemed to break loose with the big wreck going into 3. We very well could see something like that again if those top 4 drivers don't get too far ahead of the second pack.
Yeah, we're really watching those numbers here, and you can already see top 4, Root, Delaney, Baker, and Samuelson. They're already starting to stretch the legs out a little tiny bit on Jeffrey Souza in that 38 machine. The difference being that he's close enough that he should be able to regain I almost said the magic there, but that's because the magic is on the back bumper of the 81 machine. And what a segue. But he did already close to the back bumper, so that gap has been eliminated. But at first, I was worried that may have been the first separation in packs, but so far, so good. We are 13 cars strong so far, with Damian Acerenza being the tail end of the train.
Yeah, I truly think that those top 4 or so drivers probably have the best cars at the moment. I do think there's some damaged vehicles in the second half of that pack, or maybe their setup's not quite right. But if they can stay bunched up and if they're going to get out of line, they've got to be very efficient and organized with it. They can't be all scattered and have a driver in the middle and a driver on the outside, because that's how you end up where those top 4 or so drivers just break away with all the disorganization. So they need to try and stay in the draft for now, get in a situation they can get bunched back up, and then make a run to the outside.
We're just on board here with Delaney. Again, John Delaney, the overlays have to say something different just because of a back-end coding issue by iRacing. But there was essentially a tandem situation going on. He was locked onto the back bumper of Root for essentially the entire back straightaway, kind of going back to that tandem 2012 style racing that we used to see. These cars are capable of it for about a lap or so before the temps really start to get out of hand.
And you definitely have to be aware, as we talked about before with the temps, you want to push that driver and keep him going, keep the pack running nice and smooth, but you can't push too hard because you just blow up.
So again, we have 13 drivers in our lead pack here. Our second pack consists of 3 drivers on the lead lap, one of them being Ryan Ducombe. We've been following him a few times here tonight. Remember, started in 4th, but currently relegated back to the 15th position. It's only him, Brian Mabry, and Jeff Hooper. Those are the only guys in that little mini pack that are on the lead lap. Everybody else is off the lead lap. You can see Kyle Ammon just behind. Ammon in 19th spot, but unfortunately for him, he is 2 laps down. So he didn't quite have the run at Martinsville he wanted. He did have a pretty good comeback at Bristol last week with a top 10 finish, but unfortunately Talladega not his cup of tea either. So we'll see what if he can have a resurgence at the Monster Mile next week.
Yeah, and Corey, I know it's retro night. I'm thinking of the time that Ned Jarrett was, I think, a radio reporter, and he got called for an interview in the middle of the race while he was in the bathroom. That's what I feel like right now because my game crashed and we're loading back in, but we'll be back with you in just a minute.
I am trying to remember that, but maybe before my time, but I always like looking things up. Whenever you give me a little tidbit, I always have to look it up because I'm too curious for the rest of the night to deal without it. But
yeah, I think he just made up it was a pit stop situation. He just made up the entire pit stop. But I'm not that great of a liar, and I'm sure if I said something, it would be completely different than what we're seeing right now in the race. But a funny story though.
Yeah, and that's just what happens, especially in the days, back in the ESPN days. Remember Jenkins, Benny, and Ned. And for a while, Ned wasn't in the booth. For a good part of the 80s, Ned was, on track in the pits. And at that age, at that time, he was probably in his mid-60s, so he was a little more able to do so. So, very much so. I remember at Watkins Glen, a very tragic race, 1991. He was actually a reporter in the carousel upon J.D. McDuffie's passing away. After a big wreck there. Then after that, kind of was in the booth with that maiden camaraderie that we all remember with classic ESPN, Ned Jarrett and Benny, Ned, Bob. Yeah, those 3 drivers, those 3 guys, I can't. Towards the end of the race, my tongue gets tied and my brain just stops, but we know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, I'm back here with you up in the booth, Corey. I must say that first pack is stuck pretty well together at the moment.
Yeah, it's so far. Damian Acerenza, he's starting to lose it a little bit, so a little bit of worries there. Typically, once you get to about, I'd say 3-4 car lengths off the car in front of you, that's when it starts to be a little but there's usually always checkups that will help you out, and if he has radio communications, he may be able to boop over to Chad Sander and say, hey, can you just breathe a little bit, help me out. But so far 13 guys all in that pack, and we're just quickly trying to as Gaskins looks to the outside. That is Dave Fuge to the outside as well, but you can see that quick little move to the outside they just made. It cost them 3-4 car lengths to the leaders.
Yeah, that's what's so frustrating, I think, with those drivers having a little bit of damage, and once you get just a tad disorganized, you try to make a move, boom, you're already out of the pack and losing time.
And that's a dynamic that, again, we've talked about it a couple times tonight. A dynamic that happens with this new drafting package is, for years, iRacing essentially had a backwards drafting system, a backwards side drafting system, where if you side drafted someone, you actually gained speed. Where conversely, they finally fixed it, where as soon as you side draft someone, if you get too close to somebody in a side-by-side endeavor, both cars essentially slow down, or the faster car slows down and matches up to the same speed as the slower car. So when you do that, that loses the momentum to all the cars that aren't being side drafted, and that's what causes those gaps. So drivers really have to be careful when they're on the outside. You don't want to pinch, because if you pinch the guy to the inside, you're just putting a parachute on both of them.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right, and again, they're still tweaking this car in real life and also, here on iRacing too. So it just has a little bit of a different momentum to it. I mean, even compared to, I think, like the B car, the Xfinity car, or the trucks, you just can't make quite the same moves you could in those vehicles compared to the next gen.
And we were actually just expecting, there was a patch announced on Tuesday to be released on Thursday that was going to do another physics overhaul to these next-gen machines and give us the inevitable that we've been waiting for, the new damage model that basically gives these cars the ability to have parts that fall off and, parts that should be more durable are more durable and all that fun stuff. But unfortunately, that got pushed back. So it'd be interesting to see how indeed the physics change. I think aero is going to be even more important from the teasers we've seen. So if that is released for Dover, I'm not sure if it will. That would be interesting to see what dynamics change with that. But we are coming to 17 laps to go. And Tyler, we do this on most every PTR TV broadcast. I don't think we win them on the sprint car races because they're so short when you're around with us. But we're going to take our picks. Who's your pick to take this one home?
Man, that's a tough one, Corey. Obviously, Root and Delaney have been the class of the field right now, but I think that Jason D. Baker in third position, he's just waiting patiently. But when it comes down to the end, he's going to make a move and have some company with him, get to victory lane. How about yourself?
I always hate choosing the leader because I feel like it's a cop-out, but I got to give back-to-back wins to RJ Root. I don't think that there's going to be enough organized help to get that outside going, and I don't see him giving up that yellow line, so I'm going to stick with back-to-back wins and see if our pseudo Bill Elliott car gets in a victory lane.
Well, if Delaney stays committed to him, you're probably right. If he has his drafting partner stay with him all the way to the very bitter end, I mean, you're correct. It's going to be very difficult for Baker or anyone else to get around him, but I don't know how big of an allegiance he has. Yeah, so they aren't teammates. They aren't formal teammates. I can at least say that much. Just trying to look and seeing, assessing teams here from our Discord section right here. Top 3 all on different teams. And again, just because they're on different teams, top 4 different teams. So just because they're on different teams does not mean there's not little temporary alliances, as you will, because if you're working with the same guy for the majority of the race, doesn't matter if he's your teammate, he's essentially your teammate for the race. So even if you're not actually working out of the same garage, you're kind of building that camaraderie and kind of building that reputation with each other. So that kind of thing we cannot track, so we don't really know how aggressive they're going to be in that regard. I just have a hard time believing they're going to stay single file like this to the very end. I think that there's going to be a move by someone, maybe it's third, fourth place. It's just a question of whether they can get enough momentum to get past those top 2. And who knows, maybe Delaney goes with them, sees the opportunity and makes a break for it.
Yeah, but as I was saying a little bit earlier, we've seen in real life, in the real world NASCAR races here at Talladega, that there have been many races where the end of the race turned out to be, to be blunt, pretty boring because the guys just, they didn't have the guts to make the moves at the end. They were too worried about getting shuffled out, losing spots, and just chose to play the safe route and stay as is. So whether that happens again, I mean, I hope not. I don't think it'll happen, but at the same time, it wouldn't be a complete surprise, at least to me anyways.
Yeah, I think there's a desire in the second half of that leading pack to make a move. I mean, you've got a fast guy like Michael Christopher, running 8th right now. I just don't know if some of those cars around him are up to par to really make a run.
Yeah. Again, just to summarize those who still are on the lead lap outside of this pack. We have Chad Sanner in the 59 machine, Damian Acerenza. They were in this lead pack, but they have since fallen off 6 seconds from it. So now they are 11th and 12, 6 seconds behind our leaders. And then we have Brian Mabry. We talked to Ryan Ducombe, Devin Medeiros, and Jeff Hooper, who is separate even from that pack. So 16 drivers still on the lead lap with 13 laps to go here at Talladega. I would say, Tyler, if I'm being honest, I would say roughly 6, 7 to go, especially with this few of cars. I think 6, 7 to go. If you're gonna make any kind of a move, that'd probably be the absolute latest I would consider making it.
I think it depends where you are in this pack. You know, if you're way, you know, like 8th, 9th, 10th position, I think in order to get any chance of winning the race, you've got to make it by that time. And of course, the problem is we see these 1 or 2 drivers peaking and they fall right back in line, is you then dissipate all the energy around you. And you just let those top guys break away again. But, I mean, they've got to do something here. And I don't think waiting until the last lap is going to do it.
Yeah, the only place a last lap move is going to work is if you're second place. And as we've seen before, when an outside line has momentum and then somebody just tries to go up and take it away, it essentially, you know, puts the parachute out and ruins everything the outside lane had going. So this is where you have to experiment and just try and see what you have to do. And if you're RJ Root, then you're essentially just you're being the crossing guard. You're blocking all lanes. You're directing traffic as best you can, blocking runs. But if you're Delaney, how much patience do you have? I guess that's kind of the million-dollar question. But coming to 10 laps to go here on PTR TV, the 100% Cup Series, race number 10. Remember, we'll be back next week for race number 11 at Dover. And if you didn't miss the beginning of the broadcast, check it out for some fun we had with a little bit of retro theming for tonight's race. But again, single file conga line, waiting for this thing to end out, and we have our picks, but yours in chat. Who's going to take it with 10 laps to go?
I think Delaney, if he can somehow get separated and get kicked out of second place, that's going to help these guys behind him really make the move. But I just don't know how, you know, somebody would do it. I think it would take maybe Baker making an aggressive move, you know, faking out Delaney, getting to his inside, something like that, just to split those two up.
And already they're slightly breaking away first, second, and third. Again, just a car length or so back to Samuelson. Huge drops back. It's just when these guys drop back 2-3 car lengths, it just, with this new model, you're either going to get a huge run, as the 14 appears to be getting right now, or you're going to lose it entirely. It doesn't seem to be much of a middle ground. 14 looked right to the yellow line, thought he was going to try to squeeze play there. Not going to happen, but it looks like Christopher in the 70 try to get that outside lane going. Has the help from the 15 of Blake Giglio, remember last week's second place winner. But only the 3 of them is a no-go. They have to drop back in line.
They need really somebody in 4th or 5th position to commit to the outside to really get that train going. Because right now the inside's where you want to be. That's where I believe the fastest cars are at the moment. I think if you want to get that outside line to work, you need somebody towards at least the middle to really commit and have everybody else fall right in line behind him.
Yeah, that's what I believe as well. And again, just quick little advert. We are using cameras by Track Cams for Gourmets today. TrackCams22.com. If you do like what you see, check that out, or in the description below. These new camera shots we are experimenting with on the channel. Hope you do like them. But that conga line right on the bottom of the track, again, very reminiscent of stage 1. And I'm getting really nervous as the big power move to the outside there. Quick aggressive dart move that the 70 made. So it looks like he is going to be one of the ones to, you know, run out of patience with this single file train. A little bit of a nudge there from Giglio, almost a little bit of a bump and run. I think that was incidental.
Yeah, I can just look through this first pack and you can see drivers wanting to peak a little bit to the inside, a little bit to the outside.
Baker with a little half run to the outside. He's just peeking. I don't know if that's for air or if that's just trying to get a whiff of if Samuelson's going to commit to him at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, Corey. It could be a little bit of both, right? Maybe you want to cool down the engine before you make this one last run, and also figure out, hey, is this guy you think he's gonna fall, you know, behind me, right? Because that's the biggest fear. You know, you're running 3rd, 4th position, you're gonna at least get a podium finish, and then you make the run to the outside, and you get hung out to dry, nobody goes with you, and you end up, you know, outside the top 10. That's what you're worried about, and that's like you talked about before. That's why some of these races turn out to be duds, but I think these guys are anxious to do something before the very end.
Yeah, you see it all the time. It's almost like you're playing cards, and you have the two pair you think are all right, and then you get beat by a full house because you just got snookered on it. You take that little look to the outside, and all right, he's peeking, he's going to go. Nope, he's going to fill the spot and just gain a spot the cheap way. And then you as a driver, you Jimmy Spencer that, you remember it because you're not going to help that guy out next time. Plate tracks can definitely create friends and also cause enemies. So if that's going to happen, it's going to happen in these last few laps. But I do want to point out Delaney. He is genuinely tandeming on the front straightaway to Root. On the back straightaway, rather.
Yeah, he was really shoving him all the way down the backstretch. Obviously let off a little bit going into 3, but he is very committed, at least at the moment, to just keep pushing Root. So we got one driver coming in on pit road. I think they're off the pace. But, yeah, now those top 4 have a little bit of a breakaway.
Yeah, they do. And the thing that Delaney is going to have to maintain is if he is going to do that essential tandeming down the back straightaway, he's going to have to monitor his temps and manage the temps because the engine's not going to be able to sustain that lap after lap. But you don't want to get it too hot so that when you need to push, you don't have enough kind of wiggle room to do so. So that's kind of also the nuance with plate racing. And he's been tucked behind him the entire time. He's not really snuck out to breathe it. So he might be kind of in an elevated state, but with his expertise and success on the season, I have to imagine he's been doing a good job managing it. As here he comes with a little bit of a peak. That could have been for fresh air.
Yeah, I noticed Baker was really shoving quite a bit going down the backstretch that last time, really pushing Delaney. And I don't know what's in his head right now, but I don't think he wants to stay in third place. I have this feeling that he's going to try and do something. I just don't know when. But yeah, you think you really would wait a couple more laps before you start aggressively pushing. That's where you can really abuse the engine. But again, too, Corey, one little mistake by these guys, we could get a green-white checkered. So who knows?
Yeah, that is the case. We do have 3 of them, I believe, queued up for opportunity if we indeed need them. But I'll tell you, Tyler, it's turning out how I thought it may. These guys are kind of afraid to make moves. They've survived this far. They're in the top 10. Everyone in this pack is in the top 10 right now. You hate to say, are you happy to run where you are, but it's going to be really a hard battle to make a move at this point. You can see Fuge dropping back in that 14, whether intentional or not, I can't tell.
Yeah, maybe they're trying to gain the run, laying back, making that first pack have a little bit less of a draft. I don't know. I will say, coming to the end of that second stage, I don't think we really had a move until the white flag.
Huge out by himself in the 14 machine.
I don't think that's the move. No. I think anyone's going with him.
Nope, and if he's going to try to sneak in front of the 38 of Souza, as Long is going to go yet another lap down. 70 of Christopher had a little bit of a wiggle there. He's going to fall to the back of the train now as I think that's Hoytsma trying to go to the outside with Giglio as this is 2 laps to go. I mean, it's going to take really a charge. The only way this is going to work is if we get probably everybody except the top 2 on the top. That's the only way it's going to work. It's going to take a move from the 81 to the top. It's going to take a move even from Baker and the 51 to the top. If it's just 1 or 2 of them, we're not going to get any sustained charge, but we're going to come to the white flag. Remember, if we hit the white flag, it doesn't matter what happens, we will take the checkered one way or another.
Yeah, I think Baker really needs to get in that outside lane. If he wants to not end up third and wants to have a chance at the win, and now they're so squirrely in the back, just all the momentum. I mean, Fuge, again, is trying that outside, but he just doesn't have anyone really around him. He goes to the outside and has to go straight back in.
Yeah, this is the white flag here at Talladega for the Intimidator 500 for the 100% Cup Series, and we're trying to see if there's anything that's potential to be formed. The 14 machine looks like he's going to go around. Yeah, 14's going to go around, so that's going to take them out of it. It's going to cause some separation. The 79, who's that to the apron? That's Giglio to the apron there, so that's going to separate the front pack even more. It's going to create a 3-car breakaway. The 81 machine of Ryan Samuelson has lost a little bit of time. That might cause a run, or it might cause him to lose the draft entirely. But we'll see what happens. Delaney is doing that tandem move again en route. Is he going to pull off a Harvick versus Burton move here in the tri-oval at Talladega? Is he going to pull out, try to side draft and get him in a side-by-side battle? Here he comes to the outside. He's going for it. Here's the side draft. Contact. Root goes to the inside, and it's going to give the win to Delaney.
Wow.
He tried pulling off that old Harvick tandem move that happened, I believe it was with Jeff Burton back in the early 2000s, and they kind of did that little door slam in the tri-oval, and it put Root into the inside fence. I still think he managed to finish second after that, but Delaney's going to get the win in interesting fashion, but we'll go back on replay and try to get a better look at that. Use our chopper cam here as we're on screen right now with our instant replay. You can see here, he's doing that bump draft. He's doing that move. He's going to go to the outside right here. And he went for the side draft. I think the internet wasn't the best fan there. I think the internet kind of exaggerated that incident, but it did give Delaney the win in a very interesting fashion here. Probably not how he wants to win it, but, you know, sometimes you just take it as it's given to you. But what we'll do here is wrap things up by going to our final results here tonight from the Talladega Superspeedway as we begin our post-race show.
All right, your winner tonight, it is the number 6 of Delaney in fantastic fashion. Started third, ended up first to his outside route. Just tough, so close. But number 8 ends up second. In third, it's the 51 of Jason Baker. In fourth, the 15 of Blake Giglio. Rounding out the top 5 in fifth, it's the 81 of Ryan Samuelson. Sixth was 70 of Michael Christopher. Seventh, the 79 of Matthew Gaskins. In eighth, the 24 of Kevin Steele. In ninth, 40 of Damian Asterestra. And rounding out the top 10 will be the 59 of Chad Sander.
And the 11th spot, we find Brian Mabry in that 31 machine. Ryan Ducom, one of our onboard drivers, with a 12th. Devin Medeiros in the 13th spot. Dave Fuge, he had that last second wreck. 14 car, finishes 14th. Jeffrey Souza in 15th. Lucas Hoytsma was up there all race. Led a lot of laps. He'll have to settle for a 16th. And then we have Jeff Hooper in 17th. Chad Edwards in 18th. Another onboard driver. Kyle Lim in 19th. And Tim Rell in the 20th position. We're going to let the rest of the results scroll by on the screen right here. You can see a lot of attrition in this race, as we had 40 drivers on the grid here tonight, and I believe it was 13 of them on the lead lap here today. So we're going to go ahead and start our post-race show here on PTR TV, and we'll start down in victory lane with our winner here today of John Delaney in just a second here, as we're trying to get some camera footage here of him doing his burnout, but again, I think Retro Night here is not taken to us very well. All right, there we go. We got some footage of him on screen, so we'll bring him in here for his winner interview. All right, John, you got Corey. You got a copy, my friend.
Yeah, I got you guys.
All right, so I'm not sure if that's the way you wanted to win it, but you took it either way. You kind of pulled that Harvick card there with the tandem on the last lap, got him in the tri-oval. I think the internet kind of made things a little worse for you, but what was the strategy those last 10 laps or so? Because we didn't really see anything shaking up there with anybody.
Yeah. It was definitely not how I wanted to end that race. Didn't want to wreck him for it. That's just not what I want to do. But it was a good race. We played the strategy pretty much perfect all night. We worked really well with RJ there towards the end. We had a good car out front. We had a good car pushing. It was just, playing our cards right, keeping track position, and just playing the strategy right.
I know you, well, and most importantly, from that mid-race interview, you stayed awake for the entire thing so that you could make the move. But all in all, what was the major differences you noticed? We were talking in the booth here about the differences between the current drafting model with the next-gen cars and the new side drafting and all that fun stuff versus what we've been doing for years and years. So what's the major difference for you, and how did you most have to tackle it here tonight?
Well, the bubble is, we have a bubble now in between each car. So instead of actually making contact with a car, you can use the bubble to push a car. It's not as effective, but it's definitely a lot smoother and safer way to push a car. But another thing is, now side drafting and just overall the air in general is just so much more stronger than it was before. So you really have to be very smart with your decisions of when to go to, when to jump up into another lane, or where to choose your line if you're running the high line. There's so many factors that go into super speedway racing now, instead of just double file, just backed up or bumper to bumper. So there's always lots of big runs that you have to always look out for. So there's definitely a lot of new stuff you gotta look out for compared to the Gen 6 car.
Yeah, and you definitely took advantage of it. And again, I think it's your 4th win of the season, so you'll pass Ottinger on that list. That'll help you out with your playoff endeavor. So who do you want to give a shout out to again for your victory here at Talladega?
Yeah, obviously Sparko, got them on the shirt and the gloves. Big sponsor over here at Lockdown Racing, Makeeng Setup Shop, MPI. Oh my goodness, Death Wish Coffee, Sim Seats. Everyone over there that supports us. Thank you guys for broadcasting this. Definitely go back and watch this race for sure. Shout out to the admins for this league, everyone who raced tonight. I gotta give a shout out to RJ Root. Definitely not the way I wanted to end the race, but it was fun working with him. Let's see. Shout out to family, everyone watching at home, mom, dad, brother, Tanya, Bob, grandma, everyone. And I gotta give a shout out to Logan Sheets, who's up on the box tonight making some strategy calls for us and just really helping out. So that's really it.
All right, man. Well, again, congrats again. I know it's not how you wanted to win it, but you get them how you get them, and maybe we'll be talking to you at Dover next week.
Yep, hope so. Thank you, guys.
All right, and then Tyler has caught up with 2nd place. We'll see how he feels about this one. We got RJ Root, our 2nd place driver.
Yeah, I'm here with our winner from last week at the Bristol Dirt Race. RJ, just so close. You had the lead there. What were you thinking on that last lap?
I knew John was gonna go for it. I knew I was not safe at all, and I had noticed that he was laying off of me for the last 4 laps, letting his car cool so that he could hook up to me on the backstretch and push me down the backstretch and through 3 and 4, and we could gap 3rd place and then just race it out, the 2 of us. And I went to go and side draft him back, and we net coded, and I went spinning across the line. But I knew we were kind of a sitting duck, but I thought we could try to pull something off.
Yeah, we noticed he was pushing you really hard there earlier, probably about 7 to go, and he kind of backed off a bit. Was there anything you were trying to do to maybe stop him from getting that big run on the last lap?
There was no way that we could avoid it. I think what he had planned was going to work out the best for me. I really feel like he took into consideration the fact that we had been working together all night long, that if he just shoved me out ahead of 3rd and then passed me, I was still getting 2nd. I was gonna finish 2nd or worse either way, but I was very happy with the way that he approached the last lap.
Yeah, and obviously that net code, that wasn't intentional, I don't think, on his part. And hey, even though you spun into the inside wall, you still got 2nd, so not too bad of a night. Anyone you'd like to thank?
I'd like to thank everybody at Charge Racing, Silver Bullet Racing, Edge Setup Shop, Josh Ward, and John for working with me this whole race. And I think that's about it.
All right. Well, congratulations on the runner-up finish, and good luck at Dover next week.
Thank you.
Back to you, Corey.
All right, and I've got the number 51 machine, Jason Baker, our third place runner here today. Jason, you got us, man?
Yeah, I got you. How you guys doing?
We're not too bad after watching that race, and it just seemed like there wasn't enough cars there to really make any kind of valiant efforts for you there in the third spot. So all in all, I mean, Rex side of the whole entire race, what was it like from that 51 perspective?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I had a hot rod tonight, but I did not have the gear to be able to do what those two were doing. And as soon as Ryan Samuelson fell off of me and they were all crashing behind us coming out of 4, I'm like, well, this looks like it's just going to be a third place because those two took off and I couldn't stay with them once they locked up.
And then
it was insane.
What's it like for you as a driver? I mean, I think I kind of know what you're going to say, but just to ask you anyways, when you're in third, you know it's kind of a tandem in front of you, and you can see that there's nothing really going behind you, and you just have to kind of settle where you are. Is it frustrating? Is it like, hey, third's still not bad? What's your kind of mentality when you just kind of know that there's really nothing you can do?
Oh, no, it sucks tremendously. The RJ went in last week at Bristol, and then John's got, I don't know, 2 or 3 wins, 4 wins now on the season. I was really hoping that the two of them were just going to crash each other going through the tri-oval, and I could Alex Bowman it and back into a win there, but I'm satisfied with third tonight. I mean, I had a good points race. Third place is my best finish this year. I got some points in stage 1. It's really all about the big picture here, and I'm satisfied with third. It sucks. It hurts, but
yeah, they tried to reckon the tri-oval. They just didn't do a good enough of a job for you. But we head into Dover next week, so we'll see what you can do there. We'll be covering you on PTR TV. But who do you want to give a shout out to for your podium finish here tonight at Talladega?
I'm gonna give a shout out to my brother. He's my rock and support system, and my wife for putting up with me doing this every Saturday night for 3-4 hours.
Yeah, I got one of those myself, so we luck out, man. But congrats again, and maybe we'll catch you on the podium at Dover next week.
All right, hopefully.
All right, that is our third place finisher, Jason Baker, here tonight. So, Darla, we saw an interesting race in all capacity. It turned into a little bit of a snoozer at times, but somehow it turned into a crazy finish, and we obviously saw Delaney sneaking another win tonight.
Yeah, that was a fantastic finish. I just felt that something was going to happen there on the last lap, that somebody wasn't going to be content to stay in place. And it certainly was exciting, them half wrecking coming across the start-finish line. But Talladega is always, and really restrictor plate racing, or pack racing, I guess what they call it now, is always unpredictable in the sense that you're going to have lulls throughout the race. But I think that there were times, especially at the end of the stages, at the end of the race, that the drivers were really giving it everything they got, and we saw some good racing tonight. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was indeed the case. And every plate race is just, as you said, there's multiple different components to it, and it ended up how it did. But make sure you stay tuned, like and subscribe to the channel. We are growing. We're closing in on that 700 subscriber mark. We really want to do it. So if you haven't done so, again, it just takes one little click of the button and you're right there. We'll be with you guys at Dover next week for the 100% series. I'll have my buddy Evan with me in the booth for that one. And then we'll switch over to 3Wide TV for quite some time. We'll be back with you in the summer here on PTR TV, but we do have a lot of content coming with some of these league drivers that'll be in some races that we'll be covering on different events. So make sure you stay tuned. But it's Corey and Tyler signing out of the booth tonight. Have a great night, and we'll catch you next time.